Oh.
Hello.
Soup.
There was an attempt from me to start the show in a reasonable manner.
Soup.
I was wondering how you were going to get out of that. I appreciate the fact that you found the way of
the
exiting
commitment was
without
incredible.
Because sometimes when you listen to people chanting, like in the Riot Games arena or something, they'll just fizzle out. They'll just be soup. It sounds so sad. You have to end it on something. Mimi, why are you chanting soup?
Soup. It's because my favorite live streaming platform is called Soup, and they just put on the best Valorant tournament of the off season.
Have you been paid?
No, I wish.
Surely.
I just love soup so much. It's good to drink. It's good to watch. Good for your bones.
Do you drink soup? I'm not sure
Yes.
you do.
I was
Do
going to
you
ask
chew
as
your
well.
soup?
What
Depends
Uh,
what soup it is.
I don't think
Okay.
chewing is whether or not you're drinking it. I mean, I
think it's to
understand.
drink.
Well, because for example, ice cream, you don't drink ice cream, but I'm not chewing
It's a
it.
solid.
You
drink
slurp ice
liquids
cream.
and you consume and or eat solids. No.
I would be down for saying that you slurp soup rather than drink soup. I think that's
It's
the
about
middle
the
ground.
But isn't a
viscosity,
slurp
right?
like a sidekick to drink and like chew is a sidekick to eat?
Sidekick. You went with sidekick.
I thought that was the guy hosting the show.
Very good, very good, very good.
Comedy.
Hey, extremely good. Okay, so let's move away from, me when I'm Andy Warhol. I love soup. Let's just keep making the soup. All right, let's move on to the show itself. Thank you for joining us, Sliggy, Mimi, Shayo. Appreciate it. We don't often have you on, Shayo. Are you good?
Yeah, you said that like it's like I have an ailment and I'm here to cure myself. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm excited.
What
Second time.
ailment do you have?
Too much soup actually yesterday and a few days before, so I'm here to cure my soupness.
Yeah.
I heard.
Now is a good time, by the way, just for me to get this out here, like right off the beginning of this episode. The reason that I'm hosting this episode is I haven't watched any of this soup tournament. I don't even know what the hell's going on. I've been out there becoming a joiner and a roofer. I've been putting up buildings for my family, so they got me working 10-hour
really?
days in the yeah.
What
Yeah,
have you
really?
been building?
They like to refer to it as a summer house. It's a shed. It's a large nice shed, and so I've been building it for them.
Is
Because
it
my
like when
dad's
the
75 and he
Sears
still thinks he can.
catalog, like you buy the house, like it's like 1940, and you just bought your house for $300 and you're gonna have to like put it together from the Sears catalog?
I think, yeah, I mean, it probably does have the same structural integrity as a lot of American houses. Yeah, you don't build with brick very much out there, do you?
My house is brick.
Is it? Yeah, because
Yeah.
you live on the East Coast where
Yeah.
the English people built the stuff, and
Sure.
then they became American later on, you know.
Where'd you get this?
Okay.
This is crazy. Okay, cool.
This is a sponsored episode as well, by Campbell's Tomato. No, by
Soup.
by Factor and Manscaped. We'll talk about those later on.
Does
But
Factor have soup?
Yes, almost certainly. Do you want to look?
Let's
Actually,
look.
you know what?
Because
I was
I
gonna
know
say
they
we'll
have
do
the
sponsor
little
later.
chug jugs, which are really good. I like when I've tried the chug jugs, but I want to know if
Chug
they have
jugs?
soup.
You can't say
What,
little
chug
and chug
jugs?
jug. Hold on,
Another
hold on. You
Fortnite
can't say
thing.
little and chug jug in the same sentence. It's
Okay,
gotta be
it's a
it's a
splash mini.
splash mini. Okay.
You've actually attracted the ire of the Fortnite expert. We brought him on just to discuss chug jugs and how large they are. Do you mean the anti-scurvy medication that we were talking about last week?
Yes, that's a chug jug.
Right, the chug jug, yes, of course, to make sure that you don't get vitamin C deficiency. So if you're a gamer out there who's not looking after your own nutrition, you can go to factormeals.com and use the code Valorant, 50 Valorant. 50 Valorant? I swear to God, it was Valorant 50 yesterday. Maybe I'm
we
the one
changed
going
it.
absolutely
You changed
bonkers.
it.
They've changed it. Okay, so this is 50 Valorant now.
New same company, new link. Let's go.
New month,
Let's
new
go.
me,
The
new
Indian
link.
buttered tofu,
2025.
lentils, and rice looks really tasty.
Okay, but have they got soup? That's the important thing. Can we search that, please? Because they got different options all over the place. You can get them delivered to your place. You heat them up immediately afterwards. You can get very extremely healthy foods. You can get your keto foods, veggie foods, vegan foods, whatever you like. And they're chef prepared, dietitian approved. And have you found any soup on there?
No. They might
Right,
not have
well-
soup. Dude, we may have
well-
tried
Any of the food into soup.
Well,
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Just with a blender. All you need is a blender. And suddenly, Factor Meals will be delivering you soup. It'll only take you 2 minutes, heat it up with the blender. And that's factormeals.com/50valorant, or use code 50valorant for 50% off. And you get free shipping as well while your subscription is active. All right, let's move on. Before we get to the soup tournament, though, and really the meat and potatoes of the show,
the soup of the show, if you will.
Right. Okay. How long can we hammer this before it gets to be one of the worst jokes ever told?
It's already unfunny.
I was going to say it's already done.
Okay. The members can pose us questions. Now, last week we had Leo on the show, and they gave us a really insightful question about like an all-star weekend. You know, would you be able to do something like this? How would you run it if you did? So let's have a look at the question this week. I'm sure it's similarly insightful. Kurt, if you could bring that one up. Our members in the Discord have said to us, if Sideshow's bald head was scaled up to the size of a planet, what challenges would people face trying to live there? Would it be habitable or not? And would people need to adapt? And could the reflective properties of its smooth surface affect temperature and overall habitability?
All right. Well, last week you had Leo. This week you have me. So we have the diagram here, actually, if you want to take a closer look. I sent a JPEG over too for high definition purposes.
Wow.
I did my cuticles as well too, so my nails are looking good. Anyways, this is called the plan egg, right? It's a planet, but it's the plan egg. We got to switch over to the JPEG so I can also read this at the same time. Basically, towards the top of this right now, we got high altitude, right? Because Josh has got a big head. You know what I'm saying? So all the way up here, it's a little bit cooler, also very shiny. The sun hits it at like a 46-degree angle. You can see there's a power zone, solar arrays, wind turbines for the rest of the planet to be able to have electricity and power. We're kind of
Can I just cut you off earlier here?
Yeah.
What do you mean high altitude? Altitude on a planet is like its depth. It's not whether it's at the top or the bottom.
It's different with you because most planets are circular, but yours is ovacular. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an oval type beat. So like the orbit's different. There's like altitudes in the hemispheres. It's a whole different science. Like
I understand. I understand now.
Yeah, there's issues though because there is tilt in this planet as well due to it being an oval, right? Lots of tilt in the area. So sometimes the head gets hot, okay? And then you have volcanoes, heat charges. It gets crazy. As a result, you see the eyebrows there, actually rivers. Wyatt rivers even, who knows? Cool, calm, and collected though. So you see some habitable houses along these rivers, just a few of them, not crazy skyscrapers and big things like that, just villages. Then we get to the eyes, the tilted pools, the deep sunken 14-hour League sessions, 10-hour Valorant sessions for 10RR. You can see the history of the planet there, right?
Don't bring me up as if this is a good diagram.
That's where you have like the skyscrapers, the megalopolises.
Wait, can we compare really quick?
It's actually very similar.
It's kind of a spinning image, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, if anyone watched the soup tournament, there's like a really good picture of texture, and they did this exact thing and looked exactly like this.
They did it. If Texture's head was the size of a planet, would he have wind
How would the
turbines?
habitability work?
Like someone in the crowd has drawn a really good photo of Texture. I'll try.
And you're saying that's a really good photo of me?
Oh no, it just reminded me of it. It looked really. It was very similar, the kind of levels of art.
Thank you, Shia. I think that really thoroughly answers that fella's question.
Well,
Yeah,
I also
have skateboard people for marketability to the youth.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because that's what I'm really missing.
The rainforest for lumber, and you have like a few people.
Why do I have enormous amounts of pimples on my chin?
It's not even pimples. They're KC igloos, right? So if the top gets tilted and it's very hot, at the bottom, you've taken so many uppercuts from watching KC that they have an actual rent-free space on your face, tattooed and everything. They're living in there, just biding their time till the next tournament. Ice cold right now, might get hot later. More
Lovely.
Traffic at 4.
If you did actually scale up my head to the size of a planet, my skull wouldn't be strong enough and it would immediately implode. And so you'd just be left with brains, goo.
Isn't your head part of your, or your skull part of your head? Wouldn't it scale also?
Yeah, surely.
Yeah,
Yes, but what it's
planet.
made out of would not support the size of it.
No, but the width of your bone would embiggen.
Yeah,
Yes, but the width would embiggen 2x, and the volume and the weight would embiggen like 8x.
Yeah, that's good. That's foundation.
That's the weight that my skull cannot support.
Your head
How
is
do you
not
know
big
that?
enough to be 2 times for a planet.
You've
No,
never
obviously-
seen bone mass this big, so you can't actually make a claim that it wouldn't work.
if you scale objects up, right?
Yes.
Then then if you increase the width, right, by 2, obviously that wouldn't get me to the size of the planet. But if you scale the width by 2, then you scale the area by 4, and you scale the volume by 8. And weight is proportional to volume.
Dude, this guy's being a nerd.
I'm not being a nerd. I'm saying don't do it. My head will explode.
I've used Photoshop, Control-T, hold Shift, drag that shit out. You're good.
You're good.
Well, there's historical representation for this. If you guys ever watched James and the Giant Peach, there were big people in that movie. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Right.
Nah, I kind of liked it. I thought because the sun would like shine off the head, right, as well. So I felt like the what are they called? The sun. Dude, what is that stuff called? You know,
solar panels.
Solar panels. Yeah, that would like you could potentially angle it, and it gets like the reflection of the head and the actual sun. So you'll be getting double the power.
That's why it's up
Or
there.
like a two-way panel. That's smart.
Yeah. If you kind of like curved it slightly.
If I was that reflective, it would be an immensely cold planet.
Because I'd be. But then you tilt so that the heat balances out the cold.
The ozone layer would keep the heat.
That's why
in.
we need the solar panels, for the
We
heat.
need a vast amount of atmosphere. I mean, we actually need to be pumping greenhouse gases in and around my head in order to keep some of the heat in, because otherwise I'm reflecting it all back out into the.
And that's why we have a
the
prevalent
ether.
oil and gas industry.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I've got
a great
sebaceous
question,
glands. You know, you might be able to get some good oil from them.
What was that chatter's name? That was a good question. We should do another from them next week. That was really insightful.
That was Crosskirk, who also made the very amazing fan submission from our co-stream. I forget what it was
Crosskirk.
called. It was like the 3D made in Unity video. Oh, we got to show that on.
Sorry to interrupt, but Mimi's fascination for this, I just want to point out, if this question instead had said, if Mimi's head was so fucking fat that you could live on it, what would the ramifications be for the population? You would not be sat here
I think
like,
it'd be funny.
what an excellent question, get them back in next week.
And I think if you're making comparisons, having hair is an inherent disadvantage because so much less of the planet is habitable.
Very true. That's more like a Neptune/Uranus type beat where it's very gaseous and that's like inhabitable.
My anus is
strands.
very hairy, you're right. you blew
Is that
that
a
up, it would be
segue?
a disaster. All right, should we move on to a topic? It could have made an amazing segue into the Manscaped sponsorship, really, couldn't it? But I guess we should just go into some Valorant before we just a variety podcast. Yeah, this was the
This was the same person that asked that
outrageous
question.
fan cam. This one was this absolutely.
If you
blended
guys
my
haven't
brain
seen
when I watched
this,
it.
I'll link it in chat and it should show up. It's crazy good. Anyway,
It was a 4-5 minute video made in Blender of, I don't know, like utilizing all of our green screen clips to create some kind of resistance movie of us fighting against the authoritarian dystopian state.
yeah, this deserves like 1 million views. All right.
It's absolutely bonkers. Oh, okay. Let's move on from the madness.
Sorry. Go watch that and
Okay.
say whatever we're talking about. All right.
Well, we're talking about the SOOP League.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The SOOP League. Okay, all right. NRG ended up winning the SOOP League. The Gen.G also made it pretty deep. There were some massive upsets early on in the group stages. I think we actually ended up talking about one of the upsets last week because we were talking about NRG themselves losing to Rapid Lo-Fi. And then they were about to play against Billy. That was the state of the tournament as we left it last week. And, of course, the funniest thing in the world, unfortunately, did not happen. NRG were able to beat Billy, escape the group by beating Lo-Fi again, and then went on to actually win the tournament in the end.
I feel like there's no more beautiful way for NRG to start their year than making good on what happened to them in 2023. They defeat their demons, prove that they can finally beat Billy, and then rock up and win the whole tournament. It's poetic.
No, it really was. I mean, we got gifted everything because we had the Billy storyline, and then they had to replay Rapid Lo-Fi as well. So that was like a bit of a kind of upset rematch as well. And then once they won that, they had to play CGRS. it was kind of incredible. It was like literally everything just had like an awesome storyline. So yeah, it delivered. But they look good, like really good. Like best team I've seen this offseason. Good.
Best team you've seen in the offseason.
Yeah.
I suppose there's still a lot of teams in our S tier, at least in terms of how we rank them, that we haven't seen yet. Like we haven't seen vitality. But I mean, we have seen teams like Heretics continue to play, Gen.G, who were in the finals, who NRG beat.
The Heretics one was weird because it was like a show match and they were just changing roles to the level where it was like obvious that they weren't actually like properly trying. So
Right.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I think like if I was going to rank them at the moment, I'd be like NRG, then maybe T1 because I think T1s look pretty good also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead,
sorry,
Josh.
I wanted to ask, what do you think were the main changes that NRG made coming out of the loss to Lo-Fi? Because when I was watching them, and again, for clarity, I haven't seen any of the games after last week, so I've been stuck in a dungeon. So what were the big changes that NRG were able to make in order to go on that run? Because when I watched them lose to Lo-Fi, it felt like they weren't really anticipating what Lo-Fi were doing. Very like the risks that Lo-Fi were taking, swinging out through smokes, trying to opt for unusual fights, taking their timings. NRG didn't quite seem prep for that style of unorthodox, kind of like APAC-y gameplay. So did you see a shift in what NRG were doing?
I felt so. I think NRG, every time we have like an FNS kind of team anyway, I think they always need demos to actually like look good, is what I would say, or like look better to get their game plan right. I think they're always good at like planting seeds, whether it's stuff they want to do against a team in terms of anti-strat from the demo, or whether it's like they're going to use their old demo and completely change up their game plan. Like we saw them kind of play Abyss the first time they played Abyss, and then they instantly changed up their Abyss next time they played it. So they were like heavy defaulting on middle, and then a lot of times, the next time they didn't go middle for like the first 5 rounds, they were just sight hitting. I think they're very good at just kind of essentially just being like, here's our demo, and then we play nothing like that for the beginning of the game, and then you get wrecked. And then they have little micro things where they do the same thing. I give you 2 links where they'll do it like mid game, right? So they'll kind of create the pressure of something. So for this example, they create Abyss again. They have the vice wall over towards A, and like they play out the whole round. So yeah, so we go through this. We have the vice set up over towards A, right? So they got the flash, they got the wall here, and then you pretty much just see Gen.G go close, and they go here, and they hear the wall, right? So they know that the wall's here 100%, and then they trigger the wall. So then you can stop this cut and then go to the next round, which is the link that I gave you. And they're basically just using the pressure of that in the next round. And it was just a bit of a masterclass, to be honest, where they had the vice flash, and then they were purposely, like when they heard pressure over towards A main, they had the vice flash here, but the time actually got so low, and all they're trying to do is create the pressure like the wall is here, right? So that you hear the vice flash at the moment that's just gone off, and then they're like searching for the wall. There's like, there has to be a wall here, and they just think it's deeper, but actually the wall is all the way over towards B. So then they're so sure that the pressure of the wall is like on A at the moment, like they know it's there, so they just run over towards B because they don't want to kind of heavy commit once the time's low and get wrecked by the wall. But actually, as we can see, it's over towards here. So we've got 20 seconds. They got to go to a stacked 2-person site, and the wall's here. They're just very good at just doing these little things that change up their game plan, whether it's like rounds, like here as an example, or whether it's like more macro stuff, which is like how they want to approach the whole game. And it just differs. And essentially, the demo that you have of them, or the info that you have of them, is just, it's just not like you just have to think that extra level of what it actually is. Like, can we actually use that as hard info, or are they going to change it up? I feel like IGLs have a lot of a harder time playing against this team because they just change all of their setups a lot more, or they change like their macro game plan a lot more, at least for like the beginning of games. And I find that's like insanely hard to play against. So long story short, they always kind of lose a game at the beginning of tournaments, but then once they get that demo of either them playing so they can change it up, or the enemy playing, I feel like they're a lot better.
Yeah. No, I think it was very prevalent, especially against a team like Gen.G that likes to snowball a lot, especially with like an early flip on an eco, or I think in this entire tournament, from start to finish, past their loss against Sen, and even in that match, on attack, just taking 7 rounds away really fast. I think every single map, almost all the way till the finals. But against NRG, just the fact that they had so many win cons on their attack starting in Abyss with like their comp on, honestly, I think there was a big comp diff. You could just chain roll ultimates with, I think, Harbor, Vise, and Yoru to get on the sites over and over again. So he's talking about if they don't play mid, they can hit sites like for 5 rounds straight, and they just did that over and over. Gen.G had to take so many risks with like Yoru walking up or Foxy9 walking up mid sometimes, not finding anything there. And none of these flips gave them momentum half the time. And NRG just kind of played their own game, played the map, didn't even play the man. And I feel like that just made it so much easier for them to play the game. You saw it on Haven as well, I think, where Verno was just like absolutely running things down 24/7. It was fun. It was nuts.
Yeah, I think something that's also cool is a lot of the teams you've seen this offseason, the impressive stuff has been like an individual really shining or like the team having like really good synergy off the bat. But NRG is coming into the offseason and they're already like innovating and trying new stuff. No one, I think, has shown as good an implementation of like the Vice, in my opinion, this offseason as kind of what we saw from them in this map. I thought they had a lot of ideas with it on the attack side. They had a lot of like offensive Thorn lineups on their executes, the stuff you're talking about with the conditioning of the utility on the defensive side and how Finesse was so often playing away from his utility was really, really cool. And to me, that was like the star part of that map. And then we get it later into the series, the final map of Ascent, and this is where it's just like full great fundamentals on display from this team. Like their defense looks flawless. Finesse was calling an incredible side here, just constantly ahead of Gen.G on what sides they were going to hit into and stuff. And then also just you have individuals going absolutely nuclear. Like this Verno guy, I swear to God, he's the fucking truth. Like the amount of rounds he is just winning single-handedly, the amount of 1v3 clutches he is picking up, it is... Honestly, it was unfathomable, and I think you could ask for no better debut from a tier 2 player picked up to a tier 1 team than what he showed this tournament.
Yeah, he might be like on NRG and he may be playing initiators, but this guy's like a bulwark sentinel. Like if you're in his vision at any moment, it's done. And I feel like some of the comps that Gen.G were playing as well just didn't have flashes on some of these maps. So he just had free reign to be solo by himself on a lane, getting 3Ks before like 30 seconds of the round or even over. It was kind of just disgusting.
Yeah, he's kind of setting himself up for Rookie of the Year already, from what we've seen. Like,
That's an absurd statement, but I get where you're coming from.
It's so true, though.
He's actually the Rookie of the Year 2024 from this one tournament.
Rookie of the offseason?
That's true.
He's overtaken Karen already just from playing
one.
a few tournaments in the end.
He looks crazy good. I mean, I've already spoken. I've been like very vocal about him in my co-streams. How like he's one of the people that I would look at in the future, and he's kind of living up to that hype. I think he's really, really good. I think another thing worth mentioning when we're just on the actual like hyper focus of NRG is like pistol rounds as well. Like when they lost to Rapid Lo-Fi, their record or something like midway through the tournament was like there was 16 pistols played and they'd only won 3. Like they were getting wrecked. And then they started like actually winning some pistols later on in the tournament, and honestly qualifying to where they did with like a 3-16 record on pistols was wild. And then they actually just started winning the pistols, and then you kind of saw in the rematch against Rapid Lo-Fi, going back to what I was saying earlier, like they lost Pearl, but the reason that they lost the Pearl was like the first time they come up against a lot of the Phoenix stuff. And then once they realized how the Phoenix was playing, like they still lost pistols, obviously, but this is like an absolute smashing. Like they lost double pistols and won 13-9. Like they did so good. And I think they're just they're a scary team once they have demos. And this particular map here was just a perfect example because the Phoenix wrecked them the first time they played. They had no idea how to play against it. And the stuff was really cool for teams that had like, for people that haven't watched it, like the Phoenix were doing some awesome stuff like on defense, which is relatively rare. So yeah, I felt like there's some really cool stuff, but yeah, this is a scary team in tournaments where if they can like get through the first stages and they get demos.
And remember, like, I feel like they are a team that is in a really good position for like the league format of the international leagues as well, right? Like, you have a week to prep for an opponent. There's a lot of the mind games. Their kickoff is a little different because it is a tournament format, but I think once they get into that regular play, that's just where Finesse thrives.
I did want to... There was a Verno interview, right? Which I didn't really see, but I did see the reaction to it, which was like, this guy has got no Riz. Rizless. What's going on over here? Do you think there's a chance that the like star player of next year's, maybe Americas, maybe the whole of Valorant, is not a super marketable, personality-driven guy? Because we've been very, very lucky in Valorant that almost every big player wants to, you know, get involved in the like talking shit or doing interviews or is well-spoken or something. There's a lot of them. Even Demon One, who you could tell was a little uncomfortable in those kind of situations, was very much down to still be the villain and say some shit. Do you think that's likely to happen, or is that just a factor of Verno being new to tier 1 and having all of the spotlight on him?
People like the ice cold stuff where you do like an insane clip and there's just no reaction on your face. Like people eat that stuff.
Aspas does a lot of that.
Aspas does a lot of that. Nats does a lot of that. Like there's a good amount of popular players that do a lot of that. So I feel like that side of it, people kind of eat that up. I think he'll be fine because he doesn't.
Can we see this interview clip?
He doesn't have many reactions.
Can we pull it up? Can we judge if he's actually Rizless?
Just wait for him to get bored. The kids get Riz when their homework is done. That's a known fact in the dictionary. Like,
What does that mean?
Let him cook for a few months. He's gonna get bored of winning, and then we'll see the shit talk or like the haha and the hee hoo, right? The Riz, like this. When you're doing Y equals MX plus B, when you're on stage, when you're popping off, like, just pop off for a little bit, and then Riz later.
No, that's
Working out
true.
Riz later.
The children like to Riz when their homework is done.
I didn't say children, first of all, right? I implied Valorant kids like over the age of 18, like the
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
of course.
Thanks
That
for
was the
clarifying that.
implication. Huh?
Right.
Yes.
And what homework do the 18-year-olds have? that they
Winning the
need to wait
games
to
in
do?
front of you in tier 1, winning the off-season games for now,
Right.
winning and winning, getting used to that, and then Riz later.
Yeah, no, he might be on something. Artist before he won Copenhagen, he was the nicest guy ever. He didn't flame and he didn't even say bro. And then now he's completely different. So I think he has some legs.
Let him win.
You gotta earn your Riz.
The idea that Artist was a totally different person before he won Copenhagen is mad funny. I mean, maybe other people hadn't been exposed to him as much.
But did you see? Remember, he was a good boy back then. He that sounds so strange.
Dude.
What's going on, guys?
He showed up to the after party wearing like his Sunday's best. He was a respectable young man. And then
At Copenhagen?
yes,
He invited 100 fans to the Copenhagen after party.
because he loves creating community and providing value for the people he cares about.
He literally, I've never seen a player go so mad with power after winning one tournament. It was fucking lunacy. He grabbed the mic off Golden Boy. He was making
That
the
was
entire
after he
crowd
won.
chant
After
FTX.
he won.
He's just gotta win. Let Verno win. Let Verno win. Either we get like the Verno like High King arc after winning, where he's like, super pompous, anime season 2 arc coming in, or he loses everything and goes into complete like villain mode and like depression mode, and that's also a personality. So he's got some
Okay.
time.
Well, we're
No,
talking
I
about
appreciate that.
the merits of Verno's Riz. Kurt, could you pull up Haven from the finals round 4? Just as an
Oh, is this
example.
it? The Guardian round?
This was the outrageous round.
Yeah.
Was this the ace that he showed earlier? We did just watch an
Did
ace
we?
from Verno on Haven.
It wasn't
where
that
he
round,
was,
though, I don't think.
No,
I
he
don't-
was on attack, fending off a retake. Was there with a multiple
this,
aces?
this was start of the round. I mean, once again, he was set up for just complete success with the style of like the way he plays, which is like shoot head, play solo, isolated Sova. Your whole team's on the inside of the map. Gen.G just has nothing to challenge him other than their raw aim. Like Neon can't even slide early. Yeah, it's on this angle. It's like
A little
He's
later
just-
in this round.
I mean,
Right.
I'm
So the
honestly
rest
not
of,
doing
okay,
this
so the
round.
rest of the team kind of rotates off. They leave. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at Gen.G. Right. So NRG's on the attack side here. Sorry.
Yes.
So they're retaking over towards like A lobby kind of area.
I'm trying to comprehend through the pixels.
Yeah, it's a lot better quality for the viewers here than it is for us.
Yes. I think it's at the end of this round.
And
I'm gonna be
it
honest.
was at the start.
I thought you were talking about like he was on defense on A side.
No, I believe it's a clutch at the
And
end.
people were
here.
just walking into him over and over again, and he was just like nonchalantly picking head after head. Is this the round?
I don't know. I
Has
wrote
Mimi
down
just
round
selected
4
a
in my
random
notes.
round?
Yeah.
No, he gets
Okay,
one kill.
shot
You
dart
got an
kill.
entry.
That's a good start. But dart back sight, paranoia. I don't know what's going on. Okay, Ethan gets a kill. Surely Verno does something, right, guys? 10 seconds. They have to
You
plant.
guys
Which
really
one is
have
Verno?
this.
That one runs backside.
this
How the
round,
hell
yeah.
did he kill 3? Like,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Was that
the
the round
payoff
I
was
meant?
there?
Okay,
The
yeah.
payoff was there.
That's a
It
timing
was that.
thing. Though.
That was not like a Sliggy Telestra round. That was just a how the fuck did he do that round? And we were playing it out like it was a Sliggy Telestra round, and I'm gonna be real. I just wrote down round 4 in my notes. I didn't remember what it was.
You
But
didn't
it's
write
just-
down any description.
No, I
you just
said
wrote
like
down round
Verno,
4.
Verno, holy shit, round 4 was my note. And do you disagree that was Verno, holy shit, round
No,
4?
I don't think that's
No,
Verno,
it was
holy
good.
shit. That's just like player doing amazing things. That's not like a Verno moment. That's like just like a really nice spray transfer, really
Okay,
good
dude.
timing. But
I don't know,
think this makes Verno, in my opinion.
I like the fact that he's willing to take that more aggressive position as well. I think there's
Absolutely.
a lot of Sova players that would back up at that point and just be trying to defend against the flood, you know, just like they'd be holding logs or something, or they'd be holding over towards the other side and using the plant as bait. He's swinging forwards there in front of default, trying to like get a weird off angle and kill 3.
And he's honestly
wild
like
stuff.
a pretty passive player, so it's like it's good to see that in the right moments when he gets that he has to take space, that he is taking space. So, this is like a great sign. It's just a player overall.
I wanted to turn the conversation a little bit to Gen.G because they were the team that NRG ended up beating in the finals there. Now, I'm a stat Steven because I didn't watch the games, so I'm just going to throw a stat out there that reinforces my own already held opinion, and we'll see if you guys can shoot me down from my actual just ignorant position, which is that I've been talking about the fact that I thought it was really weird that Gen.G picked up Foxy9. I'm not a Foxy9 believer, noted Fox hater, and third from
Dude,
bottom.
I thought you
in the
loved
stats.
foxes like more than like most people do. Like
It's one of your like 4 shirts.
If Foxy
you have
is out there
something
looking
fox
like,
related on your desk right now. I guarantee it. Or in your room.
Look around.
I guarantee
Wait, what's
it.
that in the
Shirts.
background behind his head? I see 2
That looks
little
like his
orange ears.
Those are
it's
ears,
spirit,
no?
it's spirited away. That's spirited
That's
away.
a fox.
That's
Is it a
Pikachu.
fox?
That's a fox.
Yeah, Pikachu's a
Totoro's
fox.
fox. I
If
mean,
you think
that's-
about it,
that's
Totoro's
Totoro,
like
not
the
spirited
fox of
away.
like big round people, of
True.
guys who are like bigger.
So
than
first of all,
foxes.
you're calling me a fat fucking Snorlax looking motherfucker, and then you're saying that's my fox.
When did I
Totoro,
call
because
you a
I'm-
fat fucking Snorlax motherfucker? End
You
quote.
said, you said. I mean, it was implied. It was implied.
It's implied. That's your own. That's your own mind perpetuating your own internal
See,
thoughts onto
Yes.
my actions.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
I
She
do,
did say,
Josh. I do not see you as a big fucking round Snorlax fucker.
You've got a fox behind you. I'm looking at the plushies
No, I
behind you.
don't.
You've
Where?
got every
Where?
four-legged mammal known to mankind.
No, I've
behind
got
you in a big
everything
old
that I've
pile.
gotten given for free.
Wingman, what's that if not a fox?
Gen.G.
What is
What is Wingman if not a fox? He's a fucking snack. He's a marshmallow.
He's a.
All right, I'm sorry for derailing this.
Okay.
You were
Sorry. What my point was that Foxy9, third worst rated player of the tournament, despite making the finals, that's unusual. That's weird. You don't normally see that, especially from a player that's able to flex
Yes.
between Duelist and Sentinel when required. Like, if you had seen a performance like that from Meteor, you'd be asking questions, no? And yet this is
And
a
you
guy
should
that
be.
I've already got question marks floating around this guy. Now again, I want to be very clear. This is me ignorant take. Didn't watch the games, just looking at the stats, but it does seem to reinforce my own
I watch the
belief
games,
that-
but I'm going to tell you something that
Seems
doesn't.
weird.
You don't even need to watch the games to know this. And it's that fucking Gen.G lost their Riz. Last year, they had the mandate of heaven.
There's so
I
much
swear to
Riz
God.
to watch.
You watch a round. You watch a round with this team. It looks like they're down and out. Meteor swinging through, getting a 3K. Texture saves around with some crazy shit. Did like a big thing for Gen.G outside of like their really good util combos and their really good mid round and all that boring shit that I don't care about, was that at the end of the round when something was going wrong, there would always be some hero moment. They won an outrageous amount of clutch, outrageous amounts of multi-kills throughout their time. They would just take risks and that no one thought they would and find so much success with them. They don't have that shit anymore. The mandate of
do.
heaven is gone.
Heaven's still there. It's just not like the 7th heaven. It's like 2nd heaven or something. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
that's not good enough.
yeah, for finals, I agree. But you can't say it's not there. Like now, instead of them being like a, spiritual mega Buddha coming in, it's more modernized, right? Like instead of all the heads and the arms, it's like Transformers mode.
You're having like a
Munchkin,
fucking a Martin
Foxy9,
Luther
on this
moment, and I'm
side,
gonna
it's
tear down your
Texture
theses.
and Texture and Karen, and it's Yo Man piloting it the whole fucking time. And these guys are just popping off, like on a Pearl specifically. The road to the finals looked really good. Even in that first loss, there were really good duo moments between pockets of players on the team and Yo Man doing whatever the fuck he's doing, with darts and having a good time. Like it was really, really nice. The Sentinel duelist flex you're talking about with Foxy9 was working. It was working really well. In the finals, I think it was just a preparation versus creativity storyline between the teams. NRG was more well prepped. They had more win cons set up in their compositions, and the risks that Gen.G usually takes just didn't work out. Like, and if they did, they didn't like have their 7-round, momentous dub, risk take, dub, because NRG was just ready after the fact over and over again with a different win con. With setting up a Vice Wall somewhere else, like City was saying, like it was huge.
Let me speak normal English for a second. I think that Foxy9 was a notable downgrade from Meteor this tournament, and it showed in a lot of the moments that you knew Meteor would win and be good for something massive. Foxy9 just was not stepping up in the same way, and I think that was very visible in this game for Gen.G.
But is that an unfair comparison because Meteor was like genuinely one of the best players of
I think it's a fair comparison because he was a part of why Gen.G was one of the best teams of last year.
Right.
I just don't think it's the whole tournament. I think it's just the finals. Is that he might have not shown up.
A counterpoint for the finals discussion, though. Again, and I haven't even watched the games, but just he had more than his average stats in the finals. He had a 0.81 compared to a 0.8 rating, so he can't have had, He
was saving rounds for his whole
0.81
team
instead of 0.8.
Right, which means that it wasn't the finals dragging his rating down. He was just having a shit tournament overall, at least from the stats perspective, which I don't know whether that translated.
I do think their whole like macro setups on defense, though, they just leave him on an island. Like Bind is the Bind is the best example. You watch him over towards showers. He's just chilling in the middle of showers, just taking a 1v1 duel every single time, and you're just like, why? Where's the util? Where's the setup?
So is that a bad idea from Gen.G?
No, I mean,
like that?
I think it's definitely the fault of Gen.G. It doesn't work consistently. Just a 50-50 duel. You got to have some kind of setup. Like he's getting overwhelmed and picked off the whole time, but he keeps dueling it. So I think a lot of this stuff is maybe where Meteor just covered it up and he would like maybe play more passive or realize when to play passive. I feel like Foxy9 just kind of stays a little bit stubborn and just starts dueling all the time, and then he just becomes a easy pick-off. I'll also say if we go for just pure finals, because I thought they actually played pretty good in the whole tournament, but I think in the finals now, this team, because they lost a little bit of firepower with Meteor going, I think they're very reliant on getting texture and op at the moment.
Yes.
I think like they have to, and then I think they went 4-2 pistols in the final. I think for the free maps, and I think that really like hurts them because they gotta start getting an op, and they gotta have it as like priority to get an op.
I mean, they also went -20 in terms of first kill to first death over the course of the 3 maps.
This was this was probably the worst series in memory for me watching from Texture. And that's not me trying to be like a Texture hater and being like he's going to be ass all year. I'm just saying like this was a massively bad series from Texture in an incredibly like rare moment.
But the tournament was pretty good from him if you take away this.
I agree. I do also think in this final, like we were talking about it earlier when we were speaking about the Abyss specifically from NRG, but I feel like that map was like a complete like macro diff, more so than even just individual players having moments. I think their defensive side was really reliant on like these like forward aggressive plays for information and trying to make stuff happen with the Yoru and the Jet, and NRG was just a step ahead every time. They were always ready to just like push back that play, go into these late round executes. Like they were on top of Gen.G that entire series, even discounting just the individual performances that map.
Yeah, it was this whole tournament was a great tournament as well, just to remind me and others of just how good Som is as well, because Som is crazy impressive, and I honestly I kind of just forgot it, like with the year out, like how impactful he can be. He's just a very smart player as well. Which I
loved listening to his comms in the tournament was that? Sen City?
The Sen City one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a very vocal player.
Yeah.
I think sorry.
No, go on.
The last note on the final two is Mata. We haven't talked about Mata at all. I feel like had a really good showing. Is one of the reasons I think their Haven was very solid too. We talked about Texture's op. I think his was also monumental in stopping a lot of what Gen.G were trying to start on this map specifically. And I think also it just had a really good showing throughout the whole tournament. Very consistent like debut for him as well.
I want to move things on to talking about Sentinels. We have to for for our core KPIs. We've got to hit a Sentinels per hour, and this is our first. So Sen beat Gen.G in the opening game. They're then presumably expected by everybody to be able to beat Made in Thailand and move forwards. Now, Made in Thailand, they're clearly not bad. They made it pretty far in this tournament, had a good showing even in the semifinals, beat Talon in the Thai v Thai kind of matchup. But they also managed to upset Sen, and then Sen lost to Gen.G. Does this performance from Sen affect how you're thinking about them at all? Did it change the needle, move the dial?
Not really, other than the fact it might take them a little bit longer than last year to kind of reach their form. Like last year we kind of put them in S tier, this year we put them in S tier as well, and I think they will be S tier, but in terms of like current form, there's a lot of little things that are missing at the moment, whether it's like macro or micro or just people like knowing how to play certain situations. So it could be kind of down to the actual change of roles as well. But I think there's a lot to learn, but I'm not like that worried about them. They just might miss out on the first tournament.
Yeah.
Masters.
I feel about the same way. This doesn't push the needle all that much for me. I think also looking at both these series, it was clear that their Pearl was just not up to scuff, and not to like be a massive like coping Sen fan, but both series they lost, they lost a pick on Pearl and then like lost a very close a map. Like it was a crazy overtime on Bind in the game against Myth as well. So I don't know. Like it's clear they were not up to the level they were last year. They're not like perfectly implemented. You still see some moments where like there's maybe a little bit off between the players, like not having that like incredible synergy they had last year. But I still think that you shouldn't give up faith that that'll come with time because of like this one tough tournament performance. Because I mean, Myth really stepped up this series. They played great. They had some like awesome performances from individuals. I thought their Pearl comp was pretty sick, the way that they were playing with the Vise, and I think Sen was not ready for that one at all. So yeah, I'm not a doomer.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Vice is like I've been talking about Vice on stream, how it's just like a one and done. Like the first time you play against Vice and you don't know what it's doing, it's a nightmare to play against. And then when you have that demo, it's like pretty, I'm not saying it's free, but it feels like it loses a lot of that impact that it originally had, like the first time you bring it out. Just purely because the wall's the main bit of util, and as soon as you know where that wall is, you just get a safety as you like trigger it, and you can kind of just sit behind, and then you can eventually go out. So I think that they kind of got a little bit done by the one and done, but I also feel like they learn a lot of stuff. You look at their Pearl, especially Bang on defense. They're doing this cool little micro thing where like when someone goes for a plant on A on defense, they're trying to like Astra suck so that you can spam it from pit. With a couple more reps, like it's a really good idea. It's just like the executions in there. So I think there's loads of little things like that. A couple of like actual strats that I think need some work, but there's a couple like little micro plays where they honestly should be getting the kill if they just had more reps on some of the stuff that they're doing. But overall, like it's not a bad sign. They're not a bad team. I was more impressed with just how good Made in Thailand were. Like they're actually like very legit. Even the Haven that they lost, I was like looking at that. They lost like 3 big rounds. If they didn't lose those 3 rounds, I think the Haven would have been really close. And I think just in general, they have like one of the better Havens I've watched this year in terms of being proactive on defense. And that was something similar with NRG as well. Just very proactive on defense. And I think a lot of teams can kind of learn from watching those 2 teams on that Haven. So yeah, I'm not too worried about Sentinels really. But there's a lot of situations that I think they're going to get better at.
Well, Sentinels also made another announcement this week, along with a bunch of other organizations, but they were the only team in Americas to trigger a academy team. So we now have allowed academy teams within the VCT system. These are teams that are going to be playing in challenges that are directly affiliated and owned by the VCT team that's above them. Now, normally these haven't been allowed in previous years because if they win Ascension, you can't have Sentinels and Sentinels 2 playing against each other at the top level. So I think Riot were trying to figure out a proper way of making this work. And I'm surprised actually at how many organizations have opted into the academy system. I know that it's quite a cultural thing within certain areas. I mean, Korean esports in particular are very big on having this kind of idea of being able to run in-houses and have development programs and stuff like that without messing with your number one team. I think the fact it's not a particularly cultural thing in North America seems evident by the fact that it's only Sentinels that have opted for it. There are other teams in the Americas that have, but not North American organizations, more people that are trying to develop that Brazilian and Latam talent, which seems really sensible to do because they can't scout that talent as easily whilst playing in Los Angeles. So what do you think about this idea? And what do you think about the teams that have gone for these academy rosters?
Yeah, I think the first thing for me is that obviously this is like overall a dub for tier 2 to have official partnerships, to have that kind of support, and making it a thing that also isn't required, that is like something that teams can choose to do. I think obviously it could be good for tier 2 if you like forced every team to have an organization and field something there, but I think that just pushes orgs away from viability, especially in places like North America where clearly no one's going for it. But I think one of the biggest strengths is for the areas where Challengers is very regionalized, like EMEA, like Pacific, where you have like kind of country or like smaller region-based leagues. It makes it a lot easier to have one of these tier 2 teams for a few reasons. One, for orgs from those countries, it's really good for like branding to have a feeder team building talent in your own specific region. I think two as well, if you're trying to, obviously tier 2 is almost always not going to be a profitable endeavor, but if you're trying to offset some of that cost, I think it's a lot easier when you have these regionalized leagues, because you can sell sponsors, you can sell activations, things like that are very specific to a country, right? Like we're talking about, like you have a French team playing in a tier 2 league there, you can like really specify what you're up to, and also have the good optics for a team like KC or a team like Vitality to be building talent in your own region and kind of set you up for success there. I think that's probably one of the biggest straws outside of just the culture.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I look at the Pacific teams make a lot of sense just because tier 2 in Pacific is like very viable, like especially the Japanese league. We're getting some crazy numbers over there. So I think a lot of those teams, like it can actually be sustainable anyway, just for those teams, because we get so many eyes on the actual like tier 2 of Pacific. So a lot of those teams make a lot of sense because of that. Same what you were saying earlier, Sideshow, with the South American teams, that makes a lot of sense. I think they get pretty good numbers as well, and just like securing the tier 2 talent is there. And then I think when you look at Americas, the salaries for like tier 2 Americas players are so high up that when it comes to North America, it's very hard for these orgs to actually be able to sustainably get good players, just because it's so, like the orgs in tier 2 are paying like pretty good salaries. So it doesn't shock me that Sentinels are able to do that. And then I think in EMEA, the salary is like a little bit lower. And I think these teams taking a gamble is like great, because first of all, you get the benefits of being able to play against your actual academy team, which means you can have this in-house practice. You don't have to leak anything. If there's something that you think is really good, you can get set practice. If there's like a comp that you want to play against that you're struggling against, you can just get the academy team to study like how they play, like this kind of.
I mean, you saw how much that did for EG. The players talked about it in 2023, right? Like ahead of their match in Champions against Paper X, they had their academy team playing Paper X comps. I think it really is a great advantage to have that kind of scrim partner.
No, it's giant, because when we did it back in the day, we had to get like a Cupid who's in tier 2. We would just get him a demo and he would study like a Sage comp, because we couldn't call against a Sage comp. We would just lose on attack because we wouldn't go break a wall essentially. So it's very good for getting like just precise practice of just like little things if you're struggling against stuff. There's a lot of comps at the moment. There's a lot of deadlock and a lot of like the meta's really open and it changes per map at the moment. So I think having that really helps with just like precise practice. And yeah, I just think it's good for all of these teams. And I think especially for EMEA, there's like it's good to just secure the tier 2 talent. So like sometimes if you wanted to secure the tier 2 talent before this, you would have to do some weird contract where you like sign a sixth and then he's not playing. And then so the sixth doesn't really get like proper practice. So this is like good if you want to secure some of the early tier 2 talent, and then you can get them under a contract. And especially when the starting age is 18, you can get like these 16, 17-year-olds kind of in your academy, and then you pretty much get first dibs on them.
Yeah. This could also be like less competitive news and more canon event for NA, because I feel like in other esports, when this starts and North America doesn't jump on the, train your kind of tier 2 scene overall to be better, you just fall behind in terms of just player training, player acquisition, just growing players in general. And in 4 or 5 years, suddenly like import slots are maxed out, and NA as a region just falls behind. It happened beforehand. I feel like sometimes leagues weren't competing in these regions in earlier seasons, but over time, I feel like that might be a similar pattern in Valorant if NA doesn't invest in an academy system, because I think it's just really good based on all the points you guys are talking about as well.
Do you guys think that there is the reason that NA isn't having like pickup in tier 2 the way other regions are is because of some like specific like economic or cultural like situation, or just because orgs are like, nah, we don't want to spend the money on that and don't see the value? Like, is there a difference, or like, is it economic, is it cultural? Why do we think there is basically no pickup in America?
Like, you can see in Brazil why it's like almost, all the biggest orgs are doing it is because there is no room for tier 2 to have that good of practice, and there aren't big tier 2 teams that are having, you know, the most consistent type of things going on, especially with how tier 1 is with the whole LA situation. So over there, it makes total sense. I feel like in NA, just culture wise, there are already so many established teams. It's a bit of a mess to be able to, you know, take them and then to make them academy teams, talk to those orgs. I know Sen was doing a cool thing with this at like maxing out buyouts at 10K to make it slightly affordable for other teams to, you know, pick up players at the end of seasons to kind of break off the whole big buyouts from even tier 2 organization players at the off season. But I think it does come down to culture. I think the money is just like so big in tier 2 in NA, and this would kind of like smallify it, and people are already in teams. You have to do so much to break that apart. There's just no room for that, I feel like, at this moment. It just takes so much work.
How many organizations are actually still in the North American tier 2 scene?
I don't
It's
think
not
we
a large
fully
amount.
know yet.
Okay,
It's
but
not-
sorry, let's assume it was like the stage 3 or something.
Let's see.
You know, I'm not meaning looking forward to next year, but because
Still like TSM, MXS. There's some little ones because like YFP is an org as well, and there's like some little orgs. I think that's right. That I don't. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I mean,
my problem is I'm not exactly sure which of these are self-made orgs and which of them are.
Yeah, that's
YFP
true.
is an org.
I
TSM is
assume
an
Trust
org.
and Plug is not an org,
no.
I don't
unless they're
think
big
so.
fans of Plat Chat and they decided a spin-off based on.
I'm assuming Rankers
gift
is
we got.
not.
no,
Nightblood
No.
Gaming. I mean, maybe it. But the thing is, like, there's a difference between like an org like a TSM and an org like a Nightblood Gaming.
Sure.
No offense to the fine people at Nightblood Gaming, but
But I
there's
was
no way they're putting up like big salaries.
But I also think it also comes down to the players are just used to getting that much money.
Yeah.
Like that's like a big issue as well. And like if you're gonna think of how you actually make like academy teams proper affordable, you can't be paying the salaries. Say they're let's go for the low ball, and this is a low ball for the like tier 2 for Americas. Like say you're trying to get people for like you can't afford 4,000 for a salary. It has to be more like 2, 1. Like the kind of up and comers of like people that are just excited to get them.
And for the people that don't understand completely, you're talking per month there. You're not talking
Yes,
4K
per
per year.
month.
You're talking
No,
4K
yeah, dude.
a month, which that adds up for a team.
$48,000.
It all started from the beginning, right? It's because as soon as basically what happened is like because everyone was competing for that franchising spot, and then teams carried on kind of like putting money into it just because players were used to getting that much money. Because those back then it was crazy how much people were on before franchising came in. Everyone was just trying to secure like players, and there was so many bidding wars, and the salaries were. I mean, I remember hearing about the salaries comparison to EU. They were like 4 times plus bigger.
You know what's funny as well, though, is that salaries, like the amount that players take home as salaries as a percentage share of overall revenue in the scene, is still nowhere near as large as it is in, you know, the NFL, for example. In the NFL, they have 48% of revenue shared before expenses are deducted. I mean, like, if we had salaries like that, it'd be absolutely outrageous salaries that are being taken by the players. So I think, yes, salary increases have massively driven up costs, and yes, we don't actually have revenue streams to be able to justify that level of salary, but it's not like the players are taking too much of the pie compared to other long-standing traditional sports that are very successful. You know, as the pie increases in size, you should expect players actually to take a large amount of it. It's just that people have accelerated a bit too fast without really figuring out their own revenue streams.
I feel like it is important to acknowledge that like salaries are really high, and that's part of the reason that we have financial issues. But also the narrative of like the greedy players are asking for too much money, so the poor executives can't buy a second Bugatti this year is like easy to slip into that thing. When in like what you're saying, like other sports players make outrageous amounts of money even compared to the already high esports salaries.
There's also like past salaries. A lot of the players who are committed to like getting developed and have a very big interest in like rising through tier 2 are like not locked in, like it's their decision, are just locked into like colleges as well. Like there's a big scene in terms of you know, of course you want to play on academy, but you have a scholarship and you're playing Valorant and you're going to class in case this doesn't work out, or like, you know, you have 2 passions at the same time. Are you going to accept like a contract from C9 for the academy team that you might get cut from before the game starts in next week? You know, who knows? It's the whole
I also think it like appeals to different players because you can't compete in Ascension And like that's the big one. Not many people watch like the little
Yeah, that's
leagues.
huge.
Like not being able to compete in Ascension. Like all you can do is win your group, like win your little league, and that's especially in like Europe and stuff. That's not that big, really. It's and it's gonna be weird when it goes to that where it's like this was the best team in this league and they can't play because of that. And then what do the players do? Are they then allowed to look at joining some of the other teams? Is that just their year done? It's gonna be weird, to be honest, that kind of side of it. So I think it only like appeals to like the certain players. Because if you're kind of a tier 2 player that wants to, like a good example is probably like Nismo, someone that's like obviously like a little bit older, but you want to kind of like qualify to the actual franchising. You're not gonna, like, an academy team isn't appealing. Like I get to win my group. That's it. That's the max I can do.
And that's why Sentinels have said that they're going to focus on players that are ineligible to compete in VCT. So basically people that are just too young. Because that way you don't really have the same issue. You know, if we had BBL Pacific this year win Ascension, 3 out of 5 of their players wouldn't have been able to compete. So that would have also been a bad outcome. Like, it's a good thing if they ended up being an academy team next year, because they'd be ruled out. Well, I mean, next year, you know, they'd be a different age. But the point being that if you have younger players competing, it is good for them to be in an academy team system, because you don't ever want to be in that spot where you're like, damn, these guys are good enough to be able to compete at the tier 1 level, but they're not allowed because of the age that they're currently at.
Yeah, and the CEOs of these orgs, they're also figuring out something that, honestly, I think we learned it a long time ago, right? Like, you're looking at like the 1920s and you figured out, oh, we can pay children way less than we can pay adults for a couple key benefits, like the fact they live with their parents, their food is already paid for, makes it a lot cheaper, and you also have a really good talent pipeline.
Right, yeah, child labor. The children crave the Valorant ranked mines. They yearn for the mines. I do want to point out, though, that actually this academy team system is fantastic for something that people don't tend to think about very much, which is that when you have a system like Leo has talked about before, where you don't want tier 2 to be necessarily financially viable. The pie isn't big enough to be able to give all of these tier 2 teams all a living salary, a living wage for all of their players at all times, right? It's not big enough. It doesn't generate that amount of revenue. So instead, you're asking the players to be able to fund part of their experience of becoming a pro. So like Mimi's talking about, younger players tend to be in a better position to do that because they get food from the parents or whatever. But also, one of the things that this academy team works really well is creating more diversity in terms of people who are now able to meet that financial hurdle to be able to participate. It's not just, I come from a well-off background and I don't have to work when I'm like 20 years old and I've like dropped out of college or whatever. I can just chill for a bit because my parents are fairly well off and I can pursue my dream of becoming a pro player. That opportunity is not available to very many people in the world. And when you have non-salaried positions for tier 2 teams, you get way more of those people who could afford it and could kind of drift for a while in their lives. And so when you have more paid positions, you actually get a larger amount of more working class people being able to participate, more people who don't have the funds to be able to just coast through their life.
True. It's true. Honestly, this is itching at me. I can solve all of this and make this like a esports mainstream in North America, okay? As I mentioned the college thing before, we don't need academy because it's basically already happening in colleges for people interested in Valorant. Get the orgs to partner with colleges. Are you talking about you want to subsidize some of the costs onto the players? Colleges already do that, right? With the dorms, the tuition. Sentinels x Harvard. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes sense. Then instead of having everything in LA, right? Every college is around the states of America. You have 50 of them, right? I'm Canadian. I don't know shit. Texas is somewhere in the south, right?
Yes.
So
correct.
You
Good
have
work.
you get the orgs with the colleges. Orgs don't die. No more org death, right? Because the money is there from the college, and the org is also helping the college. College likes money. Give them a little bit of money. The players aren't leaving because they got class to go to, right? They're committed. Everything's good, and now we're traveling around. We're using central servers or LAN on site. Everyone has arenas.
I mean, that's what MCE realized earlier than VCT has realized, that actually all of the money is in the collegiate system because they're the only people that want young people to go and attend.
So why don't we just make academy? Academy is college. Wait a minute, that is an academy. Hold up.
That's what academy means. You're right.
So like, just do it. Just do it.
You're using the bit voice, but this is like legitimately a good idea, I think. because
Yeah.
collegiate esports has, I think, a lot more longevity than just like paying into tier 2 probably will. So I actually think that would be cool to do, and then you can also like study in the fucking like the Rob Moore science wing at Harvard.
Literally second science class sponsored for one day. You know what I'm saying? Like your favorite player will come in and do something with the college. You got speeches coming through. We built statues of FNS and like when he's Canadian, so it doesn't really make sense. But like we'll do some cool things. Like honestly, we should stop the VCT for a year, develop this, and then run it back the next year with an academy on the side and VCT in the main, and then have VCT in the arenas, 20,000 people. And then you're busing from one side to the other. There's bus drama. People are throwing chairs in the back of the bus. Blood, like it goes crazy.
What is going on? Shadow, stop!
No, blood.
Shadow, stop!
You can't
There's
ad-lib.
no blood.
You
It's
can't
just,
ad-lib.
it was a good idea. It was a good idea. No more bits. No more bits.
We're gonna turn off corpses. Only sparks, no blood.
Oh, yeah, true.
You throw a chair at someone, just sparks come out their head. Okay.
I'm just saying. There's a connection there. There's
Look-
work to be done.
Well, let's keep talking about some of the stuff behind esports, but we're going to talk about an announcement that Riot have made recently to allow gambling sponsors in 2025. Now, there are very specific provisions around this. This is not just any gambling sponsor is allowed anywhere, but it does mean don't even try to present a 20-sided dice as if you're a gambler. That's from D&D, you nerd. I know that.
You have to get, okay, 1 to 20, guess right now. What's it going to be?
18.
19, holy shit. But you lost. You gambled and you lost.
I didn't gamble because I didn't put anything on it.
I took your time. And
You
that's
did
invaluable.
actually. You've robbed my time of me. so yeah, they've allowed gambling sponsors for the organizations involved, but they're not allowing them on the broadcast. So the betting brands are not allowed to appear on broadcast, socials, jerseys. Well, I say Riot socials, right? So if you named your team like like TSM we're going to do with FTX, if you named them like the Bet Boys TSM or something, then you wouldn't have them retweeting the Bet Boys part on socials or something, I suppose. And in theory, Riot's going to vet all of the potential betting partners to make sure that they meet the standards for integrity, transparency,
So we'll
and
only
fan
have
engagement.
the ethical online, barely regulated gambling sites.
Okay, but you say that, Mimi, but there is an enormous enormous
No, I kid,
difference.
but you are absolutely right.
Like, we've been approached on tons of different things about, like, gambling sponsors. We get approached with all sorts of unethical sponsors, by the way. But some of the gambling ones, we looked into one recently, and it was like, they didn't even have a license. They said they did, but it was hidden in some island somewhere, and, like, they just give out licenses for free. And, like, there was absolutely no oversight. They only allowed cryptocurrency. Like, genuinely, some of these places are far, far worse for entrapping people in bad systems than others. I think the US in particular tends to have a very anti-gambling system around it. I mean, I come from the UK where it's fairly common actually to be involved in sports gambling, and rates of problematic gambling are fairly low. I mean, rates of problematic alcohol usage are fairly low, but we all understand that alcohol is like just bad for you, right? It's just that it's enjoyable as well. And I think the same is applied, in my opinion, to gambling. It's not purely an ethical vice. It can be fun, but you should always, in my opinion, be presenting gambling with the proviso that it's really, really bad for you if you get sunken into a rabbit hole with it. And problematic gambling is really highly correlated with being male and young. Anyone know any male young demographics around here? That's like all of esports, man. And then also with high alcohol usage as well. So don't be mixing this with the gambling.
Why is that next to your desk?
Props. No, I think you touched on a really good point, because I mean, there's loads of stuff like CS2 is the best example. Like it's good for the.
Did
It's
you
good
just
for
pour
the
yourself a glass?
Yeah, he
I've been
literally
drinking
did
all
just say
stream.
that.
I wouldn't have gone for the D20 roll if I had a bit of scotch.
I mean, CS2 is a good example, right? Because everyone talks about like their tier 2 scene and stuff like that, and we were also comparing sports earlier to saying about the salaries actually not being that high, but it's all because of like betting. Like that is how pretty much every sport exists and is
How the
profitable.
sausage is made.
Is because of betting. So if we're looking at from that aspect, it has to happen. And again, yeah, like CS, it's very, like the tier 2 scene is incredible because of the betting. And like you get all of those weird sites because of the weird laws that Valve have. Because like what you were saying, Sideshow, where they can kind of just, like, there's different countries that have it, but then when it comes to skin, Valve owns all the skins, and it has no monetary value, but somehow it has a monetary value. Like if you look at their Steam rules, they own every single person's skin. So when you're actually betting it, technically they're saying you're not betting money. So that's why it's like a weird little area that people get around it in terms of like their countries. So yeah, I think doing the vetting process is giant, and yeah, people just are gonna have to be careful, and at least they don't broadcast it on the broadcast itself, I guess, in terms of like teams. But I think it kind of has to happen for it to be profitable, and I think at least they're like vetting it and doing it that way.
I do just want to pull you up on something, though. I think that one of the largest differences between us where we are right now and traditional sports is actually media rights deals. Those are the largest generation of revenue for these clubs and organizations. Yeah. I mean, obviously betting is huge, and especially when you compare it to Counter-Strike, which doesn't also generate large media rights deals, but does generate huge amounts of revenue from more lax sponsorships in general. I mean, because Valve just don't give a fuck. That's where the big discrepancy is, I think, between us and a game like Counter-Strike. I don't think it's an enormous amount of the pie when it comes to traditional sports. I think that's something that people get tripped up on a little bit. I think it is vastly more the media rights deals that make the difference between us and them. The gambling sponsors, though, are also really important in Counter-Strike for the tournament organizers. A lot of these tournament organizers that run the third-party events will have some kind of betting sponsor that's their title sponsor. And that's how they end up being able to run a really efficient, or maybe efficient's the wrong word, but really effective tier 2 or tier 3 scene that still is able to function without losing vast amounts of money, is that they take sponsorships from all of these different places.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they've said it's only partnered teams, right? So we don't really know, like, if it's... I guess we don't really know what's going to happen. Because, like, can tier 2 orgs get their own...
They have academy teams.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It's like, I just think that, I'm not sure if it's worse to keep it, like, in a dark corner of, like, only your YouTube socials, to where, like, it just, even though it is already vetted, it just seems a little bit more shady, and, like, more things can go wrong. I feel like if it's already vetted and it's, you're putting that much work into it, have it integrated into the main thing, or just don't do it at all, and like actually let the orgs make money then, right? Like you're already dipping into it, and I know it's like you mentioned that inevitability of it actually just happening like it is in CS is going to be a thing. We should just pull the like the band-aid off and just do it now, or like I'm not sure what the effectiveness of it being on YouTube is in terms of dimming it down as much compared to like having it on stage. I feel like when it's on stage, it's a bit cleaner. It's like when I watch CS and I see a gambling sponsor, I'm like, oh, like this is fuck. When I see it in a YouTube video, I'm like, I kind of want to go for a spin, you know? Like it's a whole thing.
What?
Like that's just me personally. Like it feels like when it's shoved into your face so much, and it's like you're aware of it. That's bad. But when it's like 2 a.m. and I'm watching like comms videos, not comm the player, but like communications videos from VCT teams, it's like, oh, I got like I'm forced to watch the gambling ad for the next like 2 minutes because like I'm like so laid back and I'm chilling.
And you think that's more effective marketing?
I think so. I think you develop a personal like attachment to like that whole ass ad compared to like just the logo on someone's shirt or like brought to you by 1xBet. Like I don't want to go to 1xBet after I see the logo. But once the ponies start jumping on the thingy and blaster, waterfall, allegedly, I don't know what these are, right? Then it's like, that looks cool. Like those mobile ads where the army guys are like shooting on one side and the zombies are coming from the other, and the player always fucks it up, and you're like, I want to download the app and fix it right now. If all I saw on TikTok was like Clash of Kings, the words, I'd be like, I don't care. What is that? Like it is what it is. I know what it is. I'm not enticed, but. If you're allowing 3-minute ads up to your favorite players on teams talking about the betting sponsors versus just having them on, on jerseys, I feel like I take the jerseys if I want to save the kids.
Honestly, I thought you were just yapping, but I do see where you're coming from. Yeah. You actually do have a banging point. I think for Riot, they like to draw the moral line because it's like them not getting involved, right? It's like we don't actually want to associate it with us. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, where actually the effectiveness of the marketing Now, Ludwig also recently did a bit on his stream where he was playing all of these games that offered to sponsor him, and he said these are the worst of all of the games.
Yeah.
Like, these games, just never, ever try them. He said some of the others are actually fairly good, but these ones are just pure shite.
Yeah, no. But it's like, when I see this, like, I get what it is. I'm like, okay, like, there's a part of me, a very dark part of me, that wants to play this for 15 hours a day. You know, very, very dark. And I can only see this if I'm on these YouTube shorts.
That's fair.
Right.
I do think that their policy around this does feel less like what is the ultimate. I don't mean this in that way, but it does feel like it's like Riot wants to allow this because it's a way to keep esports a little more profitable and give money to these orgs, but also wants to wash their hands of it a little bit, which which isn't inherently a bad thing, right? Like, I think keeping it off their streams, keeping it off their stuff is a good thing, but it's also like, at the end of the day, there are still going to be young people, impressionable people exposed to gambling as a result of this decision. But that's kind of the cost you pay for increased profitability for esports. Like,
There's a saying.
Yeah.
There's a saying, when you wash your hands, the sink gets dirty. You know what I'm saying? So
is
The whole
there a
thing.
saying?
Right. I mean, I like the saying. I've never heard it before, but I think you just made that up.
yeah.
A wise man once said, "Me, I'm the wise man. I said it. That's my saying."
Yeah, and I just looked it up as well. The revenue of the if you want to use the Premier League, 3 billion euros for broadcast revenue, and 60 million for the shirts having betting sponsors on them. So very, very different amounts of revenue generation there. But of course, the gambling stuff, you know, you might be able to get trickle downs into other places as well. Let's talk about MIBR, and then we'll go on to sponsor. It feels a bit silly coming out of the ragging on potential sponsors to go straight into ours, though it isn't betting. You could bet about how much like hair it shaves off your head or something, but we'll talk about Manscaped later. MIBR, let's talk about them. So MIBR, they didn't actually end up winning this tournament, the Tashinia Invitational by Bonox. Don't know who Bonox is. Any knowers?
Some sponsor.
We could have figured that out.
It's no, my mod told me the other day. It's a website where you can get coupons for stuff, and I want to say it's like game codes.
Okay.
Like that. You can
All
buy
right.
games and they're having a discount.
You can buy Valorant VP online. Is it cheaper?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
right.
Buy it
I
in
mean-
game. Honestly speaking, I would buy it in game all the time.
I mean, also let's not give free shout outs to sponsors. Maybe that was a bad question from
Also,
me. I didn't
MIB
fail. Yeah, my
right
fault.
are back.
Okay.
Put that out there.
So this tournament was held by a former caster for
Former?
for Brazil. Yeah, I don't think he does the casting anymore. I think he stopped and became a full-time co-streamer, didn't he?
Really? Like as of
maybe
this
I'm-
off season? Because he was there all this year.
I thought he had. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
spreading
got
absolute
fired.
lies. Okay, yeah, the chat is saying yes, he stopped, and I say the
Okay.
chat. Desfears
One guy.
himself. Desfears
there we
saying
go.
former, he stopped. Yeah, so he's a very highly rated player as well. I think last time when we had the like which talent squad would win, it was definitely the Brazilian casters. By the way, they're way better at the game than most of the other regions. But maybe not with Tashina also leaving. So Tashina hosted this tournament, and
I'm trolling. He was. What am I saying? Like, sorry, I had an idiot moment for a second. No, you are 100% right, Josh.
yeah, thank you.
And also, you can't just
believe-
skip
I
over
believe
that the
Desfears.
Brazilian casters might be worse now that he's gone. They're way better still.
I mean,
Spawn and
there's-
XRM
they're gonna be-
are both
We
like
lost
very
Bala.
good players.
He was the best.
Oh, we did lose Bala. Yeah, we did lose Bala. I think Tashina was probably better than Bala as well. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure about that. We never.
You
we
can't
never
just
played
quickly
against them,
say
but-
that and just no. They're
No,
still
but I
better than
meant
us.
worse compared to where they were last year.
Okay.
I don't mean worse than us. They definitely still kick our asses. We're shit. We're appalling. Even if we had Sean on the team, we'd still lose. No, so this Tashina Invitational was our first opportunity to look at MIBR, the new team with Aspas on. People were calling it Aspas and Friends because they don't know who his friends are. Turns out his friends are really fucking good. And Sassy was even taking credit for being able to scout Cortesia, I saw. Being like, yo, what's up, Aspas? Aren't you glad I recommended Cortesia with his 50% headshot rating over the whole tournament?
Yeah,
Yeah.
51% across the tournament, by the way. Kind
The
of
most real
ridiculous.
stat of all time, also, we should always be paying
It
attention
is.
to headshot percentage.
Josh, it is the most real stat of all time. What the fuck? Go ahead and sort headshot percentage low, Kurt. Who's the worst player in
Low?
this tournament? Dude, Kesnet,
Kesnet?
drop that guy!
Yeah,
Drop that guy! He sucks!
example.
He
if
sucks!
if there's immediately a counterpoint, it would be that.
The worst example instantly.
Yeah.
It is actually mental to hit that kind of headshot percentage though. But overall, the team. So like, we'll start with the bad points. I mean, the bad points is their split and their Haven was very questionable to the point of I'm not sure they practiced split or Haven. But I think they'd only been practicing. I rated Bazooka, the old Lao coach. He said they'd only been practicing for 9 days, so I'm going to take that as golden, and that it's only been 9 days of practice, and that shows. Because Haven, they didn't have a default. It looked like your average rank game where you take map control, then you hit a site. So there's a couple of stuff like that where I was like,
They also beat Loud 13-6 on Haven.
yeah, which is also
Loud
relatively
looked
worrying.
a little rough.
Right, okay.
So yeah, but I think in general, like, Cortasia is definitely the talking point because this guy looks like a monster. Like, he has the same aiming style as Scream, and it's just non-stop headshots. And it's like one of the first times I've seen it for a while where I'm just like, man, this guy's aim is incredible.
Did it
And
make
him
you
on a
miss
lark.
Scream?
I mean, I had a good 2 years of Scream, so I think we got a good amount out of that little duo.
You don't miss
but-
him?
I mean, I always miss him on a daily basis. Yeah.
How often? How many times per day?
How often do I think about him? I don't know, maybe once, I guess. I watch a lot of Valorant, so I guess where I see the headshots and I'm like, yeah, I remember what it was like. Good tangent.
Mini interrogation there.
Yeah, just completely sidetrack everything. But yeah, I think in general, like the team, it's a great showing. Like, if we only have 9 days practice, we look like this, and we actually have a lot of firepower. I think that his lurking, if we just talk about Cortasia, is going to get a lot better once they have defaults. Pretty sure they didn't have a default, so once they have some defaults, and he kind of realizes off some pro schools when we can actually start pushing, then it's going to be a good time. And yeah, I'm excited for this team, to be honest. Aspasta looks pretty happy as well, and I think that's a good
It's
point.
true.
You rarely see him like super happy.
God, if we had Bren on the show right now, he'd be ranting and raving about how he knew Aspas wasn't happy last year, and they got one of his players on Christmas Eve, etc., etc. I mean, Bren was going off about that at the end of the year. He was talking about how he thought Aspas didn't look like he was super satisfied with Leviathan when he was playing with them at Champions, which I thought, how the hell do you even read into something like that? But
Bren's an empath,
there might be
unlike
something
you.
with it.
Nah, it maybe has some legs because I mean, he's reunited with Nozra as well. That's the person that he was gutted to like not
Yeah,
play
wait,
with.
I
right?
didn't even.
So-
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
The Christmas cutting their back together.
They could do
Yeah,
the
a year
funniest
later.
thing in 1 week's time. They could do the funniest thing 1 week today and just cut Nozwa. That would be fucking hilarious.
No, what?
I mean,
Horrible.
if they put out a tweet though saying that they cut Nozwa and all the players were like, "Oh yeah, with like management's fucked, they just cut Nozwa," like, that would be such a
Okay.
good prank.
It would be a good prank.
I'm
not
I would
saying they
believe it,
actually get
too.
rid of him.
I would believe it.
Me when I joke, but no one laughs. Moment.
Since Bren's not here, let me for a moment. Aspas is a baiter. Is he still a baiter?
No.
That's Brent. Cool.
All right,
Moving
well,
on.
let's move on from that then, I suppose.
yeah, brilliant.
Sliggy, you said that before we began today,
Yeah.
that people were roasting you for having Furia in the F tier. I mean, we
Yeah.
collectively
It's
put
F
Furia
for
in the F tier.
Furia.
F for Furia. That was who was it that was pushing for that? That was TMV, I think.
I mean, probably it was either you or TMV.
Oh right,
But-
diffusing the responsibility immediately while I'm trying to set you up with a,
for
a
sure, but
refutation.
I'll double down right now, and I'll say after watching this event, I'll still probably have them around like D or F. I thought the whole actual level of this whole tournament was like relatively low, especially after watching like a lot of the other off-season tournaments. Like you watch a lot of these rounds from Furia. I gave you a link to one, which like give people a good example. Kurt, if you can play it at one point, where it's just like I don't understand some of the stuff they're doing on attack, and I feel like I see this stuff more in this tournament than I have any other off-season tournament. And like the ult usage just in general from a lot of the Brazilian teams is really off. I'm just seeing like random brim ults from Pancada all the time on Louds, and I'm just trying to work out, like, look at the spike here, spike over towards middle, get a kill over towards garage. what look at what the brim does. Look at what the breach does. The breach just starts sending it in. We got a full C site, and he just starts sending it into B. And there was loads of these rounds where like they actually got the outcome of the win, but I just don't understand what is going
That's
on.
their
Like,
IGL, Rafa.
yeah, it kind of makes no sense. So I came out a lot of this tournament. There's a lot of good stuff in terms of, like, the individuals make a lot of sense for MIBR. They look really good. Furia, the roles look really, really good. Like, it makes a lot of sense. You see, I mean, honestly, all of them were just fragging pretty high, especially MW0 on the initiator role. I feel like he's fragging very, very high. But then there's these rounds that creep into, like, all of these teams at the moment. And I'm just like, none of this makes any sense. Like, this isn't good Valorant, and in terms of consistency, other teams will punish the hell out of this. So there is lots of rounds like this that Furia, in my opinion, should have lost, and that's why I'm like not that high up on it. My chat was like giving it about like Furia F tier, but I watched this and I'm like, I just didn't think it was that higher level tournament. But I think a lot of these teams haven't had much practice, so maybe it's down to that. But
I feel pretty similar, but my conclusion is more so that, like, I think this tournament, the big thing was like showing that there could be a higher ceiling for these teams than what we've seen in like the last 2 years of disappointment for both
sure.
MIBR and Furia. And I think we got that very clearly. The questions for me for MIBR were like, does Ospas look good on this roster? Obviously, he's going to play well individually, but is he like meshing well with the team? Is he playing well with people? Does he look happier than he did with Leviathan? And I think we saw that. We saw Cortesia really step up and play like he did in Tier 2, and if he can keep that into Americas, I think that's a really good sign. To me, this feels like an MIBR with a, not just because of Ospas, with a ceiling higher than we've seen them any other season. It's just a matter of how much can they do with the practice time they have now to convert that into something more than just a Cortesia and Ospas go kill.
I mean, throughout the next year, or throughout all of next year, they're gonna have a lot more practice than they've ever had before, right? As a region 2, so you can only get better. And yeah, we have a few just limited amount of time.
You could get worse.
How though? I mean, like they literally don't have practice for most of the year comparatively to what's going to be happening next year with Academy and what they have set up for themselves, right? So I feel like if vibes are meshing, as you were saying, and we have set teams ready to at least experiment with them on having set strategies, not just map control hit site, then it's only looking up. I'm not saying that we're looking up to like AS tier, but we're getting out of the FD tiers of things, right? So
Crew ended up not. Oh, sorry. Actually, before I move on to talking about Crew, because I do want to push Sliggy on that. I did want to hit on Havoc, because Havoc's one of those players that got pretty. There was quite a bit of excitement for him coming up from Tier 2 to a Tier 1 level last year when he made his rookie debut, because he'd been a good duelist player who was rumored to be replacing Aspas for a while, though we never ended up doing that, and then ended up going on to the initiator kind of flex role, the flash initiator stuff. And he had some pretty horrible performances. I don't think he was able to get over his stage nerves playing at the Tier 1 level. And now he's moved back over to duelist by the look of things. He's just going to be playing straight duelist for this team. I'm concerned that the same issues of just not being able to perform in big matches, and by big matches, I mean basically any Tier 1 game that was happening at the VCT level in the Riot Games arena, are going to hit for this Furious squad again. Because that would be devastating at this point. And I didn't really see last year a turning point for Havoc's mentality.
I think I have more faith. I kind of view it a little bit as what I was saying to Gen.G earlier, because if Havoc has an op, they look incredible. They had a really high win percentage with them having an op. So I think if they can kind of identify that as their like win condition, then I think it will be good. I still was kind of so in for the changes, because I just felt like when it was MW0 duelist, it was like very, I'm not saying like selfish calling, but it felt like no one else could kind of get on the board or get anywhere near his level, whereas he's putting up a similar level, and now we have an extra duelist that can like make a lot of space, and this guy's not scared to like buy an op on attack and then throw it to someone else and go in. So I think there's a lot of good signs, but I do think that he's very impactful if he has an op. And it's just if they kind of identify that early enough and just realize that maybe that's a win condition on some of the maps.
How did Heat look playing on a different role?
Great.
He's
Yeah,
still
great.
good. Like, I think last year was like the sell for Heat with like role swapping, stepping up, still like looking like a new player compared to when he was like the duelist that was getting lauded for like being a terrible teammate. And that's just continued through. He's proving to be like insanely flexible. He's looked good on initiator with crew. Now he looks really strong on like this like sentinel flex role in this first tournament as well. So my Heat stocks are still high.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he looked really good. And I think there's a good thing in the interview from Fury as well. Their coach was just like, the coach was pretty chill about the whole thing. He was like, there's a lot of mistakes that we still need to fix as well, which gave me a good amount of hope as well, because he's obviously looking at a lot of the rounds that I was looking at being like, I shouldn't be winning these. So I think he knows that there's a lot of work to do. But yeah, in terms of just Fury in general, way more hope for this year than last year, just purely because I think the roles look great. And I feel like the calling from Rafa was good, and this guy can actually aim as well, like to a pretty good level. It's kind of bold picking up some. People are saying that he's like 29, 30. I think he used to play CS a lot back in the day, but I think he's yeah,
I mean, Kurt, you've just
wasn't
you
it-
just
wasn't
pulled
the
up
best
his
example
worst
there.
performance of
We got
all
a
time.
5 to 14, proven. Yeah, it's the same as the meme.
That
thing,
proves
like,
that he's
let's do
29,
headshot
yeah.
percentage.
What about crew then? There was only one team that made it out of each group, right? So it's a bit of a brutal format to begin with, and crew only lost a 2-1 game against Furia to stop them being the number one team that made it out of the group. But they did kind of get drubbed in that final game on Bind, 13-4 loss. Your stocks on crew were very high, Sliggy, coming into the season. Now this should be the kind of off-season tournament where they actually look their best because they have a pre-existing core. They haven't changed too much. They still have most of their players there, and the other teams have only got like 9 days prac. So why are they not one of the teams at least that makes it to the grand final?
Yeah, I'm actually not too sure. I don't have too much to kind of back it up. They looked a little bit worse than I thought they would, and I don't know any information about like how much they've been pracking and stuff, so I can't even shoot them like a bailout thing. They just looked a little bit off, especially just individually. I felt as well like there was so many aim drills where I'm just like, this team normally wins a lot of aim drills, and they were just losing a lot of aim drills. So I'm not sure.
I'm
how much
telling
they've
you,
been practicing.
the
No,
Kesnet 19% headshot percentage is the fucking reason they lost. If he had 50% like Cortesia, they would have won this tournament.
Now, think about it, right? Cortesia has 50% headshot percentage, but he hit the same amount of headshots as Kesnet. Kesnet just also hit a huge amount of body shots and leg shots to drag his percentage
The percentage
down.
is what matters, Josh. You
Oh,
should
that's
know
all
that.
that matters.
I thought you were a professional.
Right. Does this tournament actually give you much to take away for teams like this?
It gives me hope for Brazil, which is something that I had none of coming off of last
You
year.
had no hope for Brazil?
No.
I was excited for Brazil. I don't know
Why?
about hope. Maybe hope because they've got fucking cool teams. They've got a new team that just won Ascension. They got Aspas playing with a bunch of new players that he's excited to play with.
I'm talking before we knew that Aspas was on a run. Like, I'm talking like coming off of the performance of Brazil last year, which was the worst ever in the history of the region in Valorant, to have teams that like show real potential and look like they could be competitive. I'm not saying I saw, Aspas is joining MIBR, and I was like, I hate Brazil, and Brazil is the worst country ever. No, I actually
that.
love Brazil.
that.
No. Do not clip that. I'm saying that off of the rough year they had, seeing their teams come out, even in a smaller tournament like this, and like show potential, makes me think that there is some hope going into VCT next year for Brazil, which is my favorite country and the best country in the world. Yep. Also, cool tournament, by the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of sick
Obviously.
that Tashinya put this on, and it's kind of sick that Brazil is such a beautiful nation with such a beautiful people.
I did actually like that they did a tournament for this, and it's okay it's okay to do these online tournaments. Just as a heads up for people that are like questioning like everything has to be on LAN. Dude, if teams don't in a region, especially talking to you EMEA, if we have no tournaments, it's okay to do online stuff. It's good just to see teams play and get practice. Like, there's nothing wrong with like an online tournament. It's so fine.
Yeah.
People just want to watch their teams.
Content creators that have $10,000, you can put on a tournament. Just do it. Obrigada, Tashinya. Cool tournament. More people should be doing this shit, because it actually makes the off season so much more like worth it.
Maybe Plat Chat should run an EMEA tournament that's purely online next year.
Sure.
And because Lord knows they don't have anything like it, we haven't seen Vitality at all off season.
Yeah,
that's
what I mean.
kind of criminal, actually.
And you guys get the sponsorship, so it should be pretty sponsored heavy.
That's so true, actually, and it's a good point that you bring that up because you can use code VALOCHAT20 for 20% off at manscaped.com if you want to shave your face with the Chairman Pro. It's got some extra settings to make sure that it glides across your your face. Baby smooth. I was going for smooth face and I got smaith out of that. I don't know quite exactly how I got that. But it's got multiple settings as well. If you wanted a 5 o'clock shadow, I suppose like I've got at the moment. If you wanted a clean shaven face like Mimi's got or Slicky's got.
It's all thanks to Manscaped.
then that's what you could go for. Now, I'm going to read out, I'm contractually obliged to read out these few next sentences, so don't judge me for this. All right, fellas,
don't
the holiday season is here. Trust me, you don't want to be the guys showing up with tangled tinsel in your ornaments. Now, I don't know what kind of Christmas parties Manscaped thinks we're all going to, but I'm not whipping out my tinsel ornaments for many people over towards Christmas. I don't know about you, Shio.
Me personally, 4 or 5.
4 or 5. 4 or 5 4 or 5 tinseled ornaments you got going on down there?
It's an experience. It's a whole it's a situation actually. I think.
Hey,
lucky
I know
people.
someone that loves Manscaped though. Kurt,
Yeah?
if you could pull it up. I know someone who absolutely loves Manscaped, and you should.
Oh!
What the hell?
Achilleos.
What are you doing here? What the? Where are you?
Whoa!
Where are we?
Achilleos, I'll get your. There we go.
Hello, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it
Yeah.
a thing that exists? Hi, I'm over here looking at something that is gloriously scaped. I'm looking at the mountains of Pyeongchang here in South Korea, and I've been dying to get all over these mountains because they are so groomed, they are so well cared for, and that's the quality that you can get with Manscaped. Your balls, your face, maybe even your perineum could look like this. Gloriously groomed if you buy their product. I didn't have anything else beyond that. I've been waiting.
You ran out of time.
Ooh.
I
Yeah, we can
think-
hear you. It's
I
nice.
think, yeah.
I think he's muted though while he's off.
You guys can hear him. No one can hear him. I'll switch you again, Mimi. He is just talking.
Yeah, get me
He
out of
is
here
Okay,
again. Let him
talking,
yap.
man. What are you
Get him back
saying,
in.
Dad?
All right.
It's 3:30 in the morning. I've been waiting for like an hour to do this bit, but then you guys went straight to MIBR, and I've been sat here watching you on the television here in the condo that I rented, so that I could come in and do this bit.
Who are you with? Are you alone?
No. Yes, I need all of this. I also have my ramparts and my fucking moat. No, I'm here with. I've got Degon. I've got my friend Snow, who's an ex-pro snowboarder, and then I also have Chronicler, who's one of the LCK casters, and we're here on a little vacation. What the fuck is that?
We're finding you.
Dog stung.
All right. Well, thank you, Achilleos. Appreciate
No
it.
problem. Just wanted to give the extra little bump to Manscaped because they deserve it. Thanks for sponsoring the show and keeping faces and balls clean of hair.
Nailed it.
Well, there he is.
Thank you,
There
Seth.
he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Very good.
Well, if you want your face or balls to be as smooth as the mountains of South Korea, I don't know, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce where he was, then you can go to manscaped.com and use VALOCHAT20 for 20% off and free shipping. That was way better than whatever they would have told us to read. I mean, that's a great endorsement. So yeah, the thing that they were off telling us to take a look at for this season was the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. So you can take a look at manscaped.com. Have a look at that. That one is for your balls.
That's the one the Koreans use on the slopes. So you want that.
They use a really large version of the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which is normally designed for genitalia, but they actually use it for shaving hair off the ski slopes.
And what are ski slopes but the genitalia of the earth?
Yeah,
True.
I call it a ski slope from my belly button downwards, but we don't need to go into that, I don't think.
No one wanted to go into that.
Well, let's move on, shall we?
All right, you're gonna have to knock off the drink, Josh Wilkinson. I've seen him just jugging.
Okay, let's talk Cloud9. We had the drama weekend last week, and now, honestly, if anything, they got the benefit of the doubt from us last week. Because we were being civil compared to the community at large, I reckon. The community at large was like, fuck this org, they're so stupid, look what they did last year to Yay, now they're getting rid of Rossi. Rossi was their best player.
They wanted to send Jack Etienne to the gallows. They wanted Zeppa sent to like platinum ranked. They were not
What
happy.
did Zeppa even do? They wanted Zeppa.
I don't think
executed for
Zeppa
no
did
crime.
anything, but they did want that.
It's crazy. When the people's uprising, so you never know who's first against the wall. So this week, though, I think they've tarnished a lot of the bail that you could have given them for what, like, if you were going to say, okay, Imi had to make a decision. He decided to cut it off early instead of trying to fix things with Rossi. But if that was the case, then why didn't they account for the fact that they would have needed to make personnel changes when bringing in Mitch? So as of a few days ago, Moose was removed from Cloud9, under contract with no buyout, and they're trialing another player. It's not even like they have another player lined up, as far as I'm aware, which is just bonkers. Make it make sense. Anyone.
I mean, it kind of delegitimizes what they, or kind of maybe delegitimizes, on my English, what they said about Rossi, which was the whole thing that the whole team was unanimously deciding that this is not the wave, but then, like, I guess this was the odd man out that wasn't, like, part of that decision, or like what else is going on?
I mean, it'd be worse if he was with it, right? If Moose was like, no, I really vote, let's get rid of Rossi, and he doesn't realize a week later, him getting rid of Rossi means that he's gone.
I feel like they're playing fucking Survivor, and the team's just having a vote every Friday on which member they want dropped. It's insane.
This is why next week they need to get rid of Nozwa. If Cloud9 released Nozwa, that'd be so good.
Do they have the power to do that, Cloud9?
I don't know, but if they tweeted it, people would believe it.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. I want to see who he gets replaced with, because what's going on? I just don't, I can't make sense of it. Like, I can't make sense of it. It doesn't make sense.
Ludicrous.
And they can't blame it on the players again. They can't blame it on the players and coach and say that no one's getting on because he's been there for a year.
But they also can't even say that they didn't see it coming, because they played with Mitch in a full tournament. They've clearly been planning for a while there's been this grumbling in the team, like, to make the obvious swap of Rossi for Mitch. So what, within a few days of playing again with Mitch, they realized that actually, no, he can't play Initiator? What?
This is giving when Sentinels played with Shroud. Like, I don't know, dog. Like, it feels like the most random moves blowing it up. Because I'm not gonna lie.
Move, like, you could understand that though, like
From a PR,
like,
sure,
marketing thing.
Yeah, there's a gap here. It's like Hangman, but you've used all 26 letters, and they're like, did you try the accents? Did you try the other languages? Did you use other phonetic terms? Like, it's impossible to decipher.
Look at Mitch on Social Blade. See if he's pulling in Shroud numbers. Maybe that's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah,
Who
and I'm not
do they
gonna
actually get, by the way. Like, who's? Do you know who's rumored, or like
Rossi.
they're trialing? Okay.
No,
They're
they're not
trialing-
getting, no, I'm
That would make
trolling,
sense,
man.
though.
They're
No,
actually
wouldn't
they're
make
trialing
sense.
Jacob.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. That'd be the worst case of all scenarios, because that would imply
Why?
it was only Mitch that wanted Rossi gone, and then they decided to kick Rossi, and then decided, no, wait, we should kick Mitch.
No,
That would be like a complete idiotic maneuver.
It would then imply that Moose wanted him gone, right? And then
Sorry,
they're like,
yes, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Moose wanted Rossi gone, but then they decided to get rid of Moose afterwards anyway and get Rossi back. Like, that would be so much
But
stupider.
what
than
if
just
it's like
getting rid
a
of
home
Moose in the first
renovation
place?
situation where it's like, I need to move this drywall out. The house agrees that this drywall's bad. And then you see that there's mold
Many
behind the
such
drywall,
cases.
right? So Rossi would be the drywall. And then they're like, oh, but also Moose. Because
It's like they knock down the wall and then realize there's like rot beneath. Okay.
But I don't
And you're saying
rotting
Mitch-
per se, like, because everyone's whole focus was that Rossi is the fucking devil. Like, this guy screwed us and we don't like his IGL. Like, he's so quiet, blah, blah, blah. And then it's just like, but why Moose? Like, if all the focus was there and there was so much passion behind that situation and decision, then I don't understand why there isn't an explanation for Moose at all.
I will say Cloud9, they could have been likable, and they've managed to again vilify themselves directly before the season
crazy.
starts. It's unreal. How did they not learn from fucking dropping Yay 3 minutes before? It's like every season we have to have a promising roster, do pretty well in the off season, have people be like, okay, I can support this team, I can get behind it, and then make some fucking crazy move that gets the community's fucking dragon breath lit on fire, and end up being hated by the time kickoff starts. It's unreal.
And also, I mean, people were so bad about the Yay thing because the rules at the time meant that Yay couldn't join another team until the mid-season window opened up, which was like months and months away. It was an absolutely ludicrous system. This time, at least Rossi has a lot of options and places that people might want to pick him up. People are fairly down on Moose, actually. Moose used to be a pretty promising... He was like he looked like, a few years ago, one of the best up-and-coming... I suppose up-and-coming is a bit of a weird word to say, but he hadn't been in a Tier 1 team in Valorant, and he looked like he could really do some damage in a Tier 1 team as a Sentinel. And all of that has kind of subsided at this point, and he's just a guy that we've seen for a few years that can do his job in the Sentinel role. Like, the opportunities available to Moose, I think, are going to be non-existent at the Tier 1 level, honestly. Even in the mid-season, if a team is shit in the bed.
I mean, the other thing, too, is that, like, with all the other players that are left, it's nice that gambling sponsors got added to socials at least, because they can like be sponsored by a pachinko system, right? Like, you could just drop all 5 and see which ones get rolled out of the machine or which ones stay, right? Like, if I'm a player staying on C9 for this next season, I feel like I'm on 100 Thieves 2-3 years ago, where it's like I have one bad game on Breeze because it didn't hit my sight 4 times. I'm out of the org. Oops, my players don't like me. It's over.
It is
Goodbye.
crazy that Zeppa is the new Asuna. Remember when everyone was like, how the fuck is Asuna still on this team? And it's just the same thing again.
Yeah, people don't like mediocrity. They hate it. If you've got a genuinely bad player in the league, you will get a substantial portion of the fan base going to bat for them, saying that they're not actually as bad as everybody says. If you've got a really good player, people are like, don't be stupid, they're really, really good. If you've got a player that's like right in the middle, people are like, fucking dog shit, get rid of them. But piece of wank, put them out of there.
It's as soon as like a player or like a team is loyal to a player, they're like, why are they loyal? Because everyone changes their like rosters every year. Someone's like, yeah, this is the norm. And then someone stays at a team for like 2 years. They're like, how dare they keep this person?
It's like media.
And they haven't won anything.
There's no greater sin than mediocrity. At least if you're bad, you're entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going for here on Plat Chat. I mean, I've existed for a while on this show. We got rid of Wyatt. He's been cycled out. Barla's been cycled out. Bren isn't here for this episode. At some point, the fucking guillotine is coming for me, and I need to dodge it by being as shit as possible. So, so at least then there's a few people rooting for me. What is this team actually going to do? Like you said earlier, Sliggy, are they even looking for a Sentinel? Surely Mitch plays Senti for them if they're looking for a new player. Is that part of the reason they're trying?
They're going to
Because
re-sign Jakey. It's the funniest thing. They're going to re-sign Jakey.
That's a Smokes player. That doesn't even
I don't
make
care.
sense.
Rules aren't real. Love the team. Random moves.
Yeah, Rourke. That's about it, right?
Brock, yeah. The Brock-Dagon.
And then
Yeah,
when it's at
Bro could be an amazing pickup.
then it's
That
like,
would be a
hold up.
dub.
This wouldn't, if they actually pick up Rourke, the whole thing's not too bad.
And by the way, the history of C9 is not just feel like they're likable at the beginning of the season, get excited about them, and then they drop somebody right before the beginning. It also extends into the season where they have very good performances at the beginning of the season, look really hot, and then they fumble it towards the end, and everybody thinks, why the fuck was I on that train? Like, that's what they've done super heavily the first season when they lost to NRG towards the end and didn't make it to Tokyo and champs and stuff. But also somewhat what they did last year as well, where they looked much more promising than people were expecting, but never really did too much. I think we could exactly be on the same train again here.
No, it is. It really is. It really, really is. Because we had so much hope for C9 after that tournament. We're just like, damn, they got a heavy fragging IGL and Rossi. We're like, hold up, they might actually be able to make it to a champs now.
We should have swapped them with Furia.
He's fucked it up. I mean, yeah, true. Yeah, we would have predicted it.
I feel like the only thing that makes sense is that maybe they found like a duo that works really well and just needed the space. And that might be a thing, but
Okay.
other than
So
that,
sorry, I'm not as familiar with the tier 2 team. Tier 2 scene? Who's Mitch played a lot with that would fit then as a duo?
that's the only, like, I'm trying to think of non-malicious things. Either they got a super upgrade, right? Like Tens woke up and it's like, I
Wait,
want to go back to my
I
roots,
have
and
it.
like comes to me, or it's
Tens?
like, no, I'm just saying, like, either they got like a really expensive super upgrade and like are gonna get like, you know, a big contract plus like a random other guy coming in, or like the more thing that makes sense is like it's a duo that might be coming in and they just cut off the weakest link or what they think is the weakest link, and then you have a little system.
They wink at them as they go out the door.
It's Screaming Navera. They're joining this team. Sliggy missed him so much. He wanted to see him playing again. His
so
only way
down.
he would rejoin is if they signed his brother. Cloud9 did it. They blew up the team. Everyone hates him, but when they debut Scream, it's gonna be beautiful. The headshot percentage, holy shit. It's gonna be way more than fucking Keston, 18%er.
I'd love that. I'd be so back.
Yeah, it would be good. I just don't think C9 even know what they're doing, to be honest. I don't think anyone knows what they're doing. Just
It's
doesn't make
crazy that
sense.
last week I was willing to shoot them a bit bail. Like,
Dude,
clearly they're not.
we were glazing them last week. We were like,
No,
yeah,
not
sometimes maybe I was a little bit. We gotta you gotta give them the benefit of the doubt. If the team doesn't like you, you have to make. But at this point, it's like, okay, guys.
Yeah, I think my take was from last week that they had some systemic problems where they weren't very good at being able to like fit pieces together well on their team. They needed to invest more heavily in the like org management department to be able to make stuff work. But I wasn't ready to say that they were a clown fiesta. This week, I'm like, fucking bring out the clown car, fit them all in. See how many subs we can get in. Vanity out, vanity in, vanity out. Mitch is in, Mitch is out, Mitch is in. Dude, it's fucking. Yep, the community knew all along. We were too stupid for giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh God.
I'll do it again. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel like there's a big duo coming in. I wasn't here last week to be all nice, so I can be nice now. I feel like there's a duo coming. It's gonna be amazing. Don't know who it is. Could be Scream.
It's Screaming Navera. I'm fucking telling you, it's Screaming Navera.
So we know who Cloud9 is going to be playing against in the Americas Kickoff bracket. If any of you can tell me off the top of your head, you're goated.
Crew, of course.
Is it?
Yeah.
You just made that up.
No, it is
Either
Crew.
that- Is
I
it
swear to
really?
you, it's Crew.
I'm going to need a fact check on that. Oh my God, you're too... It's NRG. It's NRG. It's NRG, but honestly,
But if they
I
make
would have
it to the
believed
finals, it's Crew.
Yeah, they literally have to
Maybe.
make it to the upper final.
Yep.
They're fucked.
The other kickoff brackets got announced. This was just my convoluted way of getting us to this topic. EMEA and Pacific announced theirs. Pacific didn't even do a draw show, so we don't... I mean, maybe they just rigged it all, but to be honest, I don't fucking care if they did, frankly.
What? You can't say
Like,
that.
I can and I will. Yeah, it would be nice if they did a draw show, but like...
Draw shows are
Dude,
boring. I don't care.
I genuinely don't care.
I could do such a good draw show if they just gave me some
Guys.
budget, man. I could do some crazy.
If they're
things and
attached to
ramps,
another
like the X
tournament,
games. Okay.
Like if they're attached to Spotlight, I care. But
Yeah.
if you're just doing them as a standalone piece of content, I don't care. I just
Yeah,
look at the
no
headline.
no
but
offense
it's
to the
notes.
EMEA draw show. I love Alberto. He's my goat. Good man, good producer. This draw show, I watched it. It was 3 minutes long.
But guys, it's clarification that it's not rigged.
I don't
also-
care. I don't
but-
care if it's rigged. It's better if it's
But
rigged.
here's my thing, Sliggy. Here's my thing. If it gets released with a video like it does with EMEA, the video itself is 3 minutes of proof that it's not rigged.
Yeah.
As
How
long
do
as
you
the
know,
video
though?
exists, why would I even bother watching it?
The
Google
problem-
Penn and Teller.
The
They can do
problem. Sorry to interrupt. The problem with the EMEA video to prove that it's not rigged is
It's
that
edited.
it's edited, so you could rig it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
look
so
at this,
true.
Like, look at this. They cut to. That is not a live cut. That's
No,
not
Also-
a live cut.
also-
I mean, even if
also-
it was a live cut, you could do it in post and chop it apart anyway.
It's true as well. Go to the first 10
I've never even seen those two people, by the way.
go
They're
first.
fucking AI.
You've never
Those-
seen Alberto. Wait,
people are
hold on
AI.
a fucking second. Alberto, the guy on the left, has produced every global show for this year, Josh. You've worked with
never
him.
seen
You've
him.
worked with him every global
never
event.
seen
What are you
him.
talking about? That's your
is
fucking
AI.
colleague. You've worked with him.
No
this
one
entire
has that
year.
much hair. Nobody has that much hair. Look at me. I'm a human. This is what happens to humans.
Kurt,
That's
back
AI.
me up. Back me up. Alberto is real, and Sideshow knows him.
Yeah,
I don't-
Alberto is real. I don't know if this guy's real. I've never seen him before, but Alberto is
Dude, that's
definitely real.
isn't that the head?
He's the head of EMEA and also doesn't exist. It's all AI. Open your fucking mind. I flew back on a plane with that guy, actually.
I will say
Which
that-
one?
Guy on the left.
Okay.
Bald guy?
Now, yeah, he's real because he's bald. People don't look like that on the right. Shayo also not real. Too much hair.
Yeah, too much hair. Oh man.
What
They,
the fuck are we talking about?
I
The
can't even
bracket?
remember.
Kickoff.
Show the bracket, Kurt, please.
Exactly. We don't need to watch the video because we can just skip to the
Yeah,
bracket.
but it's just nice to have it.
Right. So what? Are we all going to start claiming that Pacific is actually a conspiracy?
I start every morning
mean,
by
if-
watching a draw show.
All
It gets me going in the morning.
If I'm a team, I at least want to see a draw. But yeah, the fact
What
that
if the
Zed
teams
is a
got
bit
sent the
gutted.
draw, but there was something too gruesome to show the public, so they only sent the tweet?
A lighting rig just fell on one of the people that was doing the draw show. This fucking head of Riot Pacific has been crushed in a workplace accident, and they announce it 2 weeks later to make sure that it's not associated with this bracket draw. What are you talking about, Shayo?
I'm trying to think of the possibilities, right? We're saying wholesome in this one. That's all I'm saying. There's the possibilities.
What were you talking about earlier where you were saying blood?
Like if you get hit by a chair, like what's the number one thing that happens?
Bleed?
Exactly.
Right, so you think someone whipped out a chair during
But
the
also,
Pacific Kickoff
I was
bracket
I was
draw?
just saying a UK ad lib. I wasn't even talking about blood. You didn't let me finish. They say that all the time in between sentences.
Wilkinson's actually going schizo this episode. Like, can we show the brat? Can we?
Which one? Which one do you want to begin with, Mimi?
Pacific. I haven't seen it yet.
Pacific.
This is my honest reaction.
Yeah, I also haven't seen either of these, so
I've just
let's have
seen
a
it.
look.
Hold on,
Can we
I'm
do this as
struggling
well?
here.
Okay, so
Boom.
we've got Boom playing against T1. Not a good game, at least ostensibly, right? I mean, all of these could end up being good games.
T1
but
should own them hypothetically.
GE versus Team Secret, like a bit of a pretty heavy test for GE, but cool. RRQ against DFM, that's a bit of a banger.
It's. I think that game's awesome because it's the former meme teams that are now like both actual like contenders.
Yeah, and then what was the final one? Zeta against Noodle Suckers, I think.
Excuse me.
What?
That's what they're called, isn't it?
Who's noodle sucker? Sorry.
NS.
Noodle
Nongshim.
suck. I think that's
gotta-
not good. I
What do
don't
you
think
mean?
that's what that stands for.
It is. They're a noodle company.
Are they actually?
Yes.
I mean, we have to follow this rabbit hole right
Wait,
now.
what?
I mean, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They're a noodle company. That's why their team is called Noodle Suckers, because they want people to buy the noodles.
I don't see.
I don't think that's
I'm waiting
true.
for the noodle.
Well, no, they don't have it on the esports website, but Sliggy has some of the noodles.
Yeah, I don't have them with me. But
Oh,
I
unfortunately.
do have them a lot.
But
yeah.
what is the
They're
noodle
banging.
brand called?
Nongshim.
Dongshim noodles.
Oh yeah,
Nongshim.
not
Holy
noodle
fucking
company.
shit, it
Yeah,
actually
yeah, they have
is.
some-
Okay.
They're great noodles.
Yeah. Facts.
That should be a good game, I think, as well.
But I don't think
because-
you should call them noodle suckers.
I don't think you should call them noodle suckers either.
I think you should call them like
Nongshim Red Force.
Noodle
yes.
slurpers.
That's a good one, Shayo.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nongshim Red Force are playing against Zeta. That should be a good game as well. And then I
Yeah.
didn't even really look at who they're playing in the follow up. Who would you have guessed just from the outset would be the top two for the tournament?
Like upper final or just at the very.
Well, at the
And-
very end, I've seen a lot of people talking about Gen.G and
let me
PaperX
do the
still
math.
being the favorites, but
upset, DRX and PRX.
DRX,
Damn.
PRX, god
You
damn.
game with a DRX Paper X.
Yep.
That was kind of sick. For me, it's like DRX, Gen.G, Paper X, T1. It's between those four. Oh, actually, Nongshim. Dude, some of these draws are brutal. The Gen.G's got an alright draw. Because T1 and Paper
What
X
if
have to go.
DFM is going to make the finals?
They could.
It's,
It's a
possible.
lot more open now.
They've got a bit
I
of
feel
a
like
difficult
their
bracket,
side
I
of the
think.
bracket is like doable.
Really? Because I think their side of the bracket.
As long as
honestly,
they beat
I think
Gen.G.
both sides are pretty tough. To
But
be honest.
I'm telling you, Gen.G lost the mandate of heaven. DFM might have it now.
Okay, but Nongshim
Internationally.
Nongshim are a seriously decent team as well. That's the Sinprisa Gaming squad that won Ascension. They haven't lost a series since Persia joined the team. They're literally undefeated.
Wait, is he like from the Prince of?
Yes, yeah,
Holy
master of
fucking
the
shit.
Sands of Time or whatever the hell that game is called.
Wait, they
Um,
also have Oxy on their team?
Oxy.
Francis. Isn't that his first name?
I don't think they have. Oh yeah, they do have a player called Francis.
Wait, guys, we got out
You
of control
got
here.
me.
Surely, surely we're out of control.
You've done me with that one.
There's
I
also
thought you
someone
were-
named Margaret on this team. That's fucking awesome.
Margaret continues the incredible tradition of people from China or Korea picking women's
The best
names, like
names.
English women's names, as their alias.
That
and
sounds like
it's
someone's name.
always
It's
entertaining.
like Margaret.
Yes, yeah.
That's
we had
incredible.
we had Elsa in Overwatch League, which was fantastic as well, and a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head. Should we have a look at the EMEA bracket?
Sure.
I don't really feel like it.
All right.
Oh fuck it!
Thanks
Well,
so much for
Wyatt's
watching.
weekly award. Let's go.
Let's give it up.
EMEA, we have Liquid Koi. I feel like I've seen that so
Well,
many
Koi
times.
generally
That's-
live in liquid.
Yeah, they always start
True.
the season off of this game.
Sliggy goes Valorant, Mimi goes Esoteric.
I go Fish,
Talking about
actually.
fish.
I think fish are very cool. Have you seen like the rare koi, like in Japan?
Rare Koi.
The like very expensive koi. They're like I don't know what it is, but like my YouTube Shorts algorithm has got like esoteric like fish traders on it. It's fucking awesome. It's like
Okay.
they breed these koi fish and then they're like really cool patterns and they're like unfathomably expensive.
Just because of the pretty patterns they have. on
Yes,
them.
because they're rare koi. It's like Pokemon. Have you played the game Pokemon?
I have played the game Pokemon. Do
But
they
it's like
stuff
that,
them
but
into?
it-
Do they stuff them into balls and kill them?
anymore.
No, they don't.
It's not a
They
Valorant
don't put them
podcast,
into balls and
please.
kill them. They just
Please,
trade
guys,
them.
I'm losing
I need
my
a
mind.
set. I need a remote taser for Mimi just to like give it a shot.
Wilkinson's been doing it more than I this episode.
Yeah,
Shout
okay.
out
It's out
to.
of control.
I apologize.
Carmen
I
Core
got- I need a
Core
teaser for
Navi.
all of you.
Carmen Core Navi. Carmen Core Navi.
I'm gonna whip
Thank
you
you.
all into shape. Kamiko Navi seems like a good game. That
Would
seems
you
like
like
a good
that,
game.
Sliggy? What was that
Carmen Core
reaction?
Navi. Carmen Core.
He's been the one distracting us the whole time.
Kamiko Navi and the winner plays Vitality is a banging segment of the bracket. That's a banging segment of the bracket.
Yeah, that is.
If Casey and Navi actually look good, we haven't seen Navi once because of the lack of the EMEA off-season tournaments, and we've only seen Kamiko on 1.5 maps out of the 7 in the pool. Actually,
You
only one
are-
because Sunset's. Wait, am I losing my mind? Is Sunset leaving? I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Sunset's gone, yeah.
Sunset's
Right,
gone.
so,
Lotus
so
is
we've
back.
only seen them on 1. We've only seen them on Haven.
That's crazy. I like that they've created like a kids table down at the bottom of the bracket where both Ascension teams are playing.
Yeah.
I think
And then
that's
they
kinda
play
awesome.
against Heretics.
And they play-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Heretics have the best run ever. Look at this.
That's
Like,
such
that
a good
is-
run.
If you
Yeah.
could literally do a picture perfect run of what you would want to happen, this is it.
Because
Who has the
Fnatic
worst
are
one
also
here?
Fnatic are
Probably
doing
not
all
gonna
the
be playing with Leo.
changes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're just so fresh with crashes and they've had no practice. Like
Yeah.
it couldn't be any better.
It is a bit of a trial by fire for Vitality, I suppose, except that they already have a bye to be able to go deep. So, like, I don't think you should judge Vitality on how deep they go, but they are going to be playing against good teams. Like, they're going to be playing against the winner of KC Navi, which should already be a bit challenging. Then they're probably going to be playing against Foot, you would imagine, because Foot are favored against Koi or Liquid. And then they would play against probably a Heretics or maybe a Fnatic if they do really well at something like that. So, it's gonna be like we're really gonna see Vitality tested, I think, as we go through this bracket, which is sick. They're not gonna get an easy run of things early.
The battle for second place should be pretty good because I feel like Heretics should be fine. And then second is just open.
Well, I think we'll save the pick'ems and stuff like that for later on when it's a bit closer to the time. Next week, I did want to talk about this just before we close. I haven't done it yet because I'm lazy. But we are going to be doing an awards show, I believe, next week. Or is it the week after, Kurt?
We'll probably do it the week after because the next week... Wait, is the next week Christmas, right?
Next week should be Christmas, yeah.
Yeah,
so
next
we
week is Christmas,
There's a
yeah.
chance we don't do an episode next week, but for the end of year...
I feel like that probably makes sense. Like, skip next week and then do like a New Year's episode for the award show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. There might be nothing to talk about. So we might have to skip next week, and then the week after, we'll do our end of year award show. But,
Yeah.
Josh...
So there's a bit of a twist. So normally we do an awards show. We have a certain amount of categories. We nominate things that we think fit the categories, and then we vote on it. Like, each of us genuinely does vote on it, and then whoever's hosting unveils it. This year, because we have our members Discord, we thought another nice thing for our members to be able to get involved with is that you guys can actually nominate moments. So we're going to come up with the categories. So like funniest moment of the year, rookie player of the year, all of these kind of things that we've done before, similar kind of categories. If you have any category ideas though, please feel free to throw them in the member Discord. But we're going to allow members in the Discord to nominate moments, players, stuff like that. So if you have a clutch of the year idea, a match of the year idea, this kind of thing, we're going to allow you to nominate those kind of ideas for us to feature in our awards show. So if you are part of the members Discord, watch out for that. I'll be posting stuff inside the members Discord where you can kind of reply with ideas, and I'll go through and sift through the top recommendations. And if you're not a member, then consider becoming a member. You get that. Plus, you're able to look at behind the scenes content from some of our co-streams that we've done. You also get access to a few of our pieces of content early, and you can ask us questions that get featured on the show, like what would happen if Sideshow had a big fat fucking head and you could land a spacecraft on it. So, you know, there's
That's
pros,
actually the plot of the Outer Wilds.
Yeah, Outer Wilds is fantastic.
Best game I've ever played.
Second one's coming out next year.
Is it? Because the DLC
Yeah.
was almost an entire new
You're
game
talking
as
about the
well.
Outer Worlds,
Oh, well,
Shia,
never mind.
which is a shit game. I actually have never played it. It might be good,
It's a
but
really good game.
I just know I just think it's bad because it ruins the Outer Wilds SEO, which is a much better game. And everyone watching this should play the Outer Wilds because it's probably my favorite piece of media I've ever consumed. It's fucking excellent.
Damn, you guys love one-player games.
That sounded like
That sounded
an
like a
insult.
slur. Why did you say it like a slur?
I'm
What
just
the
saying.
fuck?
I'm just saying, you guys love one-player games. That's cool. If you like beating a bot that doesn't exist, that's pretty cool.
It's not.
Experience, not
You
a
don't
fucking
even.
PvP
Yeah, you
game.
don't even understand what's going on. I'm not trying to beat another player on the other side. Like if I like bot games, I'd queue
I'm
into
trying
you.
to
I try
feel
and stream
something.
snipe you. I'm trying to work out puzzles. I'm trying to fucking solve the mysteries of the universe. That's
Yeah.
what I'm putting my
In
brain
a 20-minute loop with the best video game score of anything ever.
It is an incredible musical score. Yeah.
Let's
Move on. Sorry, Mimi. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds.
I went to a concert for the Outer Wilds in person in New York City. It was an orchestra performing live with the conductor. It was very cool. But I realized he doesn't fucking want to play it. I think he's just very obsessed with music and just wants to like create cool new music and is pissed that people like this one piece of media he created so much. So he basically played nothing from the actual soundtrack and it was all new creations. And my theory is he's just like kind of an eccentric music guy who wanted to do everything like new and fresh and on his own. And I thought that was really funny because I think people were disappointed.
Time is over.
It was a good concert though. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, well, you shouldn't have snuck that in. Void. We'll strike it all from the record. Let's move on to Wyatt's Weekly Award, shall we?
It's all good. I gotta get this award to the compound. I gotta get to the Plat Chat compound right now. No! Shit. Dude.
A broken third place car of the year award or whatever the hell that is. I like that he self-censored himself. He was going to say fuck and he said shit instead, as if that would make a big difference for the sponsors of Wyatt's Weekly Award.
This Wyatt's Weekly Award was brought to you by BetMGM. Use code PLATCHAT50 to get your gambling addiction started young.
God, I
Don't
love
do
that.
that. Don't
Love
gamble,
that.
kids.
Basically, what you've done there is you've given a shout out to a real betting platform without us getting even compensated for it. So that's like the
Yeah.
most unethical thing you could have done.
Yeah, that's my bad, guys.
Wyatt's Weekly Award this week, I think we should send it to Cortesia. Now, I'm going based off some very angry Brazilian people in our chat who were saying, not Cortesia, dumb gringo, it's Cortesia or Cortesia. Not exactly sure, but I don't think it's.
Cortesia.
No, I don't think it's a soft J sound. I don't think it's a J. I think it's an
Cortesia.
S or a Z.
It means courtesy in English.
Yeah, Cortesia.
Oh,
So
does it
courtesy
actually?
and quotes are on the same team.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, for a ridiculous headshot percentage, which we will now, from now on, all Wyatt's Weekly Awards will be awarded on the basis of headshot percentage.
No, there has to be a certain amount of kills because it's going to be FNS with just like a couple of kills and 100%. We got it has to be over 5 kills.
Cortesia.
Cortesia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must have
Cortesia?
said
It's
Cortesia?
just so easy for him.
Right, well, good night.